What's going on, Internet? The Black Okage here, aka TBH, and to be honest, I'd like to welcome you guys back to the Game and Illuminati podcast. We are the Enlightened Gamers, and you're now tuned in to episode 151. If you're watching the video version of the show at youtube.com/GI Updates, know the show is available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and all other major podcast platforms. Just be sure to rate the show 5 stars on Apple and Spotify because your rating helps us move up in the algorithm, which in turn helps bring in new potential listeners. Also, follow the podcast on social media. We drop daily content on our pages, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Recently, we just redid the Twitter. We're dropping news bits, memes, just trying to interact more with the community. So really follow us there at GI Updates. That's all of our handles. And without further ado, allow me to introduce you to our co-host, the first of which recently launched a new YouTube channel, but I'm going to let him tell you about it. Go ahead, Jay.
Yes. So again, this is a new journey, 2024. We're trying, bigger and better things. Also trying to get out of our comfort zone. So trying a new YouTube channel. It's called JGs Time Capsule. So subscribe if you want to. I'm going to be doing mostly stream highlights, important conversations on anything. It doesn't even have to just be about gaming. So whatever we're feeling, whatever goes on in the stream, I'm going to make sure that I try to stay consistent and upload that to the channel. So again, if you want to subscribe, the channel is called JG's Time Capsule. We'll put it in the description somewhere. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Make sure to support his channel. Like you said, link in the description. My second co-host, he told me to tell everybody he's happy the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. I don't watch Caveman Ball, so I don't know what he's talking about. But Ethos, say what up to the people.
It's been a long time coming. We haven't been able to get this far since before I was born. It's been that long. But shout out to the 49ers. We're about to fight them tomorrow, so it'll probably be in the future by the time you guys watch this. And shout out to the Buccaneers for choking. The lights were too bright for y'all, and y'all couldn't handle our defense. So, yeah, shout out to the Lions. Put your parlays on us.
I'm happy something positive is going on in Detroit. I just want you to know, Jay, I've never seen this man talk about football in the group chat. This may be talking about Magic cards
because
and
we
shit.
suck. We suck.
Now he's a football fan. Okay.
I was a Lions fan. JG knows. I was a Lions fan for a very long time, and I asked JG for permission to become a Ravens fan, and JG granted it to me because he was like, yeah, you've suffered long enough. So either way, I win. If the Ravens do good, then hey, if they win, I'm still happy about it. If Lions win, I'm really ecstatic. So it's a win-win.
Cool. Now, if your eyes work correctly, you would have noticed there's a fourth camera on display, and that's because we're joined by a special guest. He's a journalist in the gaming industry who reports for the Washington Post, but you can also catch him on Twitter and on your Twitter timeline. Matter of fact, that's where I mainly know you from, Twitter Spaces. You are super active on it, dog. Gene Park.
You were at, which Twitter Spaces were you on that you found me on?
I don't know. I just remember your profile picture was very distinct because you had a Kirby with the Bayonetta haircut. Yeah, that always stood out to me when we was in the Twitter. I've seen you in multiple. That's how I originally found you, and I was put on. I was like, yeah, I mess with this dude's opinions. We had to get him on the show.
No, that's funny because okay, you weren't in the ones where I was acting up because there was a time when people were like making like sex noises or having sex on Twitter Spaces.
Oh, you was in a moaning room.
Yeah, they're all like moaning. So then, like I would go into some of them, and then I would be like, you click the fire button or whatever like that, and they're like, Gene Park.
Your name will pop up in the top. You're like, oh, what are you doing in there?
Yeah, this was like when verified blue checks actually still meant something.
Right.
So, like, whenever my
pop up in the
verified
top.
actually shows up, they're like, oh shit, someone verified showed up.
They can feel the clout in the room. Well, I saw you just from talking games. I missed those ones.
I'm kind of glad I did.
Those are those pandemic rooms.
Yeah, I'm in other communities. Don't worry.
What's the name? If you want to follow him, we'll have links to his Twitch page as well as his Twitter and all his social medias and Instagram in the description box below the video version. Before we get into the show, friendly reminder to join the Discord. Discord.gg/GI Updates is totally free for you. Plus, we have a lot of perks for our premium members, including shout outs, monthly giveaways, consultations for content creators, watch parties, and a whole lot more. I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing a Tekken 8 tournament soon, so stay tuned. Join the Discord. Link in the description box below. Other than that, we can now get into the leading conversations, which the first is going to be Palworld. This game, I first was put onto it about 7 months ago, but from my understanding, the first reveal trailer was actually 2 years ago. I saw it at the Summer Games Fest for the first time 7 months ago, and here we are almost
2 years ago.
Here we are a few months later, and this game has taken over the world. People are calling it Pokemon with guns. From my understanding, the developers only have experience with mobile games, and they made another game called Craftopia. So this is like their first major game, especially because it's on the Game Pass. Memes everywhere. People are loving it. Some people are hating it. It's sold over 7 million copies in the first 5 days since the last time that I checked. It's probably gone up. And I believe they broke the record for second most concurrent players on Steam at 2 million. The current world record holder right now is PUBG at 3 million. So they're on pace to potentially, they could, who knows. But we're here to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. And since you are our guest, let's know how you feel about Palworld, Gene.
Oh man, like we could be here for like 5 hours again. I've been talking about Palworld forever. So you know MagFest, right?
Yeah, in DC. Yeah,
DC. So yeah, people don't know, it's called the Music and Gaming Festival. It's a pretty good convention, very community driven. But everyone at MagFest is the kind of person who would be playing Palworld. But I'm local, so I had time to play Palworld, and then go to the convention. So I sounded like a crazy person when I started to describe what Palworld was about. Where I talk about, like, you know, it's not like Pokemon actually, because when you see a fire type, you're not trying to get the fire type, or you're not trying to get the water type because the water type is going to fight the fire type. You're getting the water type because you want to see what kind of skilled labor he has and contribute back to the camp that you have back at home. And when I realized what the game loop was, I started to get hooked, because that's the magic of Palworld when you actually play it. Because Pokemon, people always keep talking about, you know, the Palworld is taking over what Pokemon should have taken over, right? I think it's more than just high budget graphics, which is definitely part of that. And Palworld runs also really well too, right? But for me, Palworld has something that's been missing in Pokemon for the whole time, because Palworld has actual, like, real interesting interactions with your pals, versus Pokemon, where all you do with your Pokemon is that you grab the fire type and then you fight the ice type. That's it. That's all they're good for. So I actually booted up Pokemon Scarlet Violet a couple days ago because I wanted to see, like, you know, how that game was and how that felt. And the first thing that jumped out at me was I am fighting all the time in Pokemon, like nonstop. When you start the game, the first thing you do is fight. And you just fight every 5 minutes until you get to the end, and you fight the final 4 Pokemon leaders, and then you just keep fighting, right? In Palworld, yes, you do have to, like, skin and butcher some pals at the beginning, but the end game is so you make it so you don't really have to kill them anymore. That you really have, like, this whole, like, bustling community. So right now, I have my fort in Palworld is called the Washington Post. And it's got
clever,
because we're also owned by Bezos too. So you know,
Bezos bucks.
So you know, so I'm just getting some inspiration from the boss. So I make sure that I put him to work. So I actually have the conveyor belts going on that they're creating the PAL spheres and handgun ammo for me. So I always have a steady supply of pistol ammo and PAL spheres back at home. They're watering the berry plantations and the wheat plantations. I can't believe they're called plantation. And you know, they got all kinds of food, and I got like 15 of them back at the base right now, and it's just popping off. And yeah, that's my experience with Palworld so far. I've played it for like 15, 16, 17 hours.
Same. I got about the same amount of time on it. I think what generally surprised me about the game was it's more of a survival game than a quote unquote like monster catching Pokemon game. But more importantly, what I realized yesterday when I was playing it is this game solved an issue, because I'm not a big fan of these Steam early access survival games. This game solved the problem that I have with the early access kind of survival games, and it's the grind of actually building the actual, you know, base or whatever. It is a little bit slow in the first couple hours, but if you thug it out, by the time you catch a few good monsters, they're working on your base for you. So I felt like I was spending more time exploring, hunting, fighting, and just having a good time embracing the world for what it was. Because this game definitely embraces the fact that it's silly, instead of sitting at base just hammering away at stuff. And I thought that was really a clever way to kind of circumvent my issue with survival games, and also just kind of bringing something new to the Monster Hunter formula. Because for me, Red and Blue will always be my favorite. I know there are ones that are quote unquote better, but like I feel like it's been a while since I've had that feeling of Red and Blue, Silver and Gold with Pokemon, because it's just become too formulaic. And this just did something enough to where I'm like, yeah, this even to me, Palworld is a W, and I'm gonna tell you why. Even if, because I don't know if this game is going to survive long term. We got to see if the developers really support it. That's my main concern with it. But it's a W still, because at bare minimum, Nintendo sat up and they was like, all right, we got to try now. It's forcing competition, and that to me, that's what makes it a W. You laughing, Ethos? Give me your take on Palworld, because you've been spending a lot of time on it.
I have 50 hours on this game, man. It's terrible.
50 hours, bro?
I have 50 hours
That's
on this
crazy.
game. I've been playing. I'm not even joking. When this game came out, I literally played it for 12 hours straight. I did not sleep for at all for the first day.
I didn't expect you to be this
came out.
much into the game.
I'm just like you. I do not care about survival horror games. I don't like the early access. I've never been I was never into Rust. I was never really into Minecraft. And that's like a couple of my friends that I play with. They constantly make that comparison. Like, it reminds them a little bit of Rust, a lot of bit of Minecraft, with the way that you're, crafting stuff, grabbing resources, and
Like
that sort of thing.
survival or whatever.
Ark survival, yeah.
I never got into it too.
Yeah, I never could get into them. I tried Ark, I just like, I don't get the point of this. But I feel like the Pokemon aspect, I guess, is kind of the thing where it's like, okay, like I can kind of understand this. But then when I started to realize, kind of like what other people's realizations were, was like, okay, I'm now getting it. I'm now gathering these individuals, and now I'm realizing that each of these like pals have their own specific like thing that they're able to do. Like, some of them are good at watering, some of them are good at transporting, and there's tiers too, where early on, through certain means, I might have been in the black market a little bit. I might have sold a couple pals here and got my hands on a Mewtwo looking pal that like levitates. But this pal, I think was called like Lemia. It's like a gravity type pal. They're very good at like work stuff. So like if you put them on a workbench, they're like a 3, and that was like the first 3 I had ever seen in the whole game.
Crazy.
So they go crazy on the bench. Like on the bench, they're just like and they're done, and that's like faster than everything else. Yeah, they're really good. It looks like a Mew mix. Mew like looks kind of like Mew a little bit.
I have that one, Luna something.
Yeah, Lemonita or something like that. So like we I used that overall for what I was like when I was building, and it's been so crazy that like I literally purchased a dedicated server for like GI. So there's like, at any time we have anywhere between 10 to almost 15 people who are on the server in and out doing stuff, and we have like a whole guild set up. And I'm not even joking. I'm not even like joking about this. We have literal shifts set up from this point in time to this point in time. This person and this person are on the game, and their job is to do this. Then Jojo has the lunchtime shift. So from noon to 1, he's on the game and he's getting us a bunch of iron. I'm on the afternoon shift. So from 5 to 9, my job is to work on this. And then I enter into the graveyard shift with Steve, and Steve does the whole graveyard shift from like 1 a.m. to like 3 a.m. And our thing has been getting ore, building a base. We have a massive base. We got a big mansion. We got 6 stories, multiple bedrooms, multiple bathrooms going on. We've got a whole egg incubation. We've got a whole breeding area where we throwing the pals in there. We throwing some cakes in there. They're making eggs. We're incubating the eggs. We have the whole process down. We're starting to do just what you were talking about, Gene. We have
You see what I mean about sounding like a crazy person?
I sound insane, but like I'm not even joking. Like, this shit is real. Like it's really real out here. Like,
no, because you keep describing it, you just don't stop because you can't stop playing.
And I can't stop playing it. I had to take a break, so I haven't been able to play in the past couple of like for the past day, because I've had to take care of some other stuff. But I'm not even lying to you. Like, this is the first time that, and this is just to show some of my friends who have literally been hooked on other games. I'll give an example, like Jojo, for example. That dude only plays League. I'm not even joking. All he plays is League all day. That's the only game he plays. I have never seen him so hooked on a game where he hasn't touched anything but this game since it's come out. He literally he literally was like, dog, he's like, this shit's gonna affect my productivity at work. He was like, I'm at work, and even Steve was at work, and he was talking about, bro, all I'm thinking about is Palworld. Chaos was talking the same thing, bro, I'm at work, all I'm thinking about is Palworld. And we're all get there, and then on top of that, we constantly have the whole raiding thing going on. So we're getting jumped by NPCs jumping our base the whole time. We'll take a break, and then some people will jump back on the server because our server's up 24/7, and we'll find half of our pals are dead, or they've been fighting off like things. We have we call it Basing Say. We have a wall that we set up So we said like no one will get behind our wall. So we built a Bossing Say wall, and we do that to keep the wild pals out from invading us and trying to steal our ore and resources and our eggs. We have a whole system set up, and if if a pal acts up, we got a little butcher knife ready for him. Like we have an entire like I'm talking an Amazon, but like what James, we have an Amazon facility.
Sounds crazy.
I know, but we got a whole plantation. We got them a little spa set up. You know, we treat our employees good if they work good. If they don't work good, we take them outside behind the wall, and we get the chopping. That's that's all I'll say about it. But this has truly been a game I was gonna play it as a joke. I thought I was gonna play it for 3 hours and I'd be done with it. I have almost 50 hours on this game, so I think that says a lot about that the game is fun. So yeah,
it was originally a meme, and it turned into something that people actually. Oh, this is not bad. Like, let me keep snacking on this. What about you, Jay? You got any takes on it?
Yeah, no, I have the totally opposite opinion of you all. I don't like survival games at all, and I'm staying with that. Like, I'm sticking with that. I don't like survival games.
Have you played it?
Really, yeah, I played a couple hours.
Oh, okay.
I played a couple hours. Good. Yeah, no, I'm not just saying it, as I started looking at it. I did actually download it on Game Pass, and I played a couple hours.
Shout out to Game Pass.
I was like, okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, shout out to Game Pass.
Shout out to Game Pass.
Like, I liked how initially, like, they gave you objectives, like, hey, like, you need to level up so that you can get all these items and resources, and you need to, get a certain amount of pals so that, it can start working for you. And as I was playing, I was like, this game really isn't like Pokemon. This is truly like a survival game at the start. Like it's a survival game. You start making a base. You got to get your pals to work. You got to survive the cold. You actually get hungry. You actually get cold at night. Like those type of things. I'm totally like just against. Like I didn't even want to try to get to the later portions where I actually get to start making a base. Like I'm just not the type of person who likes those type of things. So this game is not for me. But I'm enjoying seeing everybody else liking the game. But I do also enjoy the fact that this game is multiple things in one. Because again, it's a survival game at its core. Like it's also a resource simulator. It's also like Gene said, like it's a basal simulator. Like once you get a bunch of pals and get your base together, get the conveyor belt, like put them to work. And if they don't work, then they got to get out of here. Like I'm seeing some crazy thing, like people throwing their pals off a cliff, getting knives. Like actually you hitting them with the stick, like get to work. So it's crazy. Like I like the creativity of what everyone is doing. Who actually enjoys those games. And like Ethos was saying, like he has a server and he literally makes shifts, but like that also made me think, I'm like, damn, like y'all working on a video game. So like I'm good. I already got an 8 hours,
it's our second job. It's literally a second job.
Yeah. I saw a YouTube comment. I forget which video because I want to screen cap it, but it was funniest comment. He says, I'm unemployed, but Palworld makes me feel like I'm not.
There you go.
I'm still the boss in my house, baby.
Yeah. So it's not for me, and I know that people say, well, you didn't play it with anybody. And we're also split. That was the one thing that like I hope that the developers do get together, because we do need crossplay, and I'm not the biggest fan. And I don't know if there's some Microsoft saying, even though Microsoft, obviously they've been super for crossplay. They even wanted to do crossplay with Sony, and Sony was like, oh no, but they were like, Nintendo, yes, like we'll do crossplay with you. So I hope that they eventually do get this Game Pass and Steam stuff together, because otherwise it's going to continue to segregate. Because I'm sure that Microsoft is aware that like there are a ton of people who didn't want to buy this game or didn't want to wait to see if they can get early access. Like you give them the chance to play, so they should be able to play with everybody. So that is the one thing that I wish that they did change on that, and I'm hoping they do end up making that change, whether it's on Microsoft's end or the developers end, to make that happen. But I'm good. Like I'll try it again with some friends and see how that goes. But at this point, like Ethos and his friend, they're gone. They're out of here.
We're cooked. We're gone.
TJ's been playing like 15 hours. I know that Siggy, we have another guy named Siggy, and he's a huge Pokemon fan, and he's super into this. He's been doing everything too solo. So like at this point, everybody's going, and I'm just with the the lowly level 1 pals. I don't even know what I have. So
have you been a Pokemon fan before though, GG?
Yeah, super early. I started being a Pokemon fan after Sapphire and Ruby.
Okay,
so those were the last ones.
That's even recent than me. So I guess it really is like the crafting part that can't get to you.
Yeah. I'm good on that. I think when I got to the point that again I got hungry and cold, I was like, you know what? No.
You can actually adjust the difficulty so you can be 0.1 times hungry. So you're not eating that much.
Yeah, there you go, JG. You can do your little Padawan
playthrough.
I rather stick it in the trenches if I'm gonna. I want to play it the right way. But it's okay though. It's okay. Like I said, I enjoy. Like you all are super passionate about this, especially Etho. Like and G, I know you said you like I can't wait to talk about Palworld. So you all enjoy it. I'm not gonna be the the hater on the podcast about Palworld, but it's just not for me. Like I said, I have 2 other games that literally just came out tonight that I will be enjoying. So I'm good.
Well, let's use what you talked about with your little negativity and pivot into some of our concerns with the game. Gene, are there some things that you dislike about it, Palworld?
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering how long can I keep up with this? like how long am I going to keep producing? That's kind of like I can totally see where JG is coming from because I've never been into survival games. As soon as I start seeing that my character is hungry, I'm out. Like Solid Snake is the only person that I can tolerate being hungry. Like because you gotta be Solid Snake for me to tolerate that you're hungry. Everyone else, I don't want to deal with it. But as I'm playing, I'm like, what is the end game here? And I'm exploring, and I'm not really like finding too much. There's a little story. I think that was one thing that I said on Twitter too. It's like, people keep wondering like, oh, is Palworld going to replace Pokemon? Well, first of all, I don't think Palworld is going to replace Pokemon. Pokemon is like Christianity. It's just going to be there all the time.
If Pokemon dies, Pokemon will kill itself. It's not going to
Pokemon will be what
exactly. If Pokemon dies, Pokemon will kill itself, right?
Yeah.
But part of the reason why Pokemon is like literally the most richest IP in the world, even over like Marvel and like Mickey Mouse and all that stuff, is because the story, it puts you in the shoes of a Pokemon champ, right, or a Pokemon student, and then it's that rags to riches story of like, now I'm graduating and I'm going on the road. So kids are going through school and then they're looking forward to graduation or even getting to the end of summer. Like that's a universal thing for a lot of kids these days, and that continues on every generation, right? So that's what Pokemon has been able to be so successful at, being a generational IP, because the story always starts off every Pokemon game. We were talking about formulaic, right? Very formulaic. I'm tired of it, but the formula has been working for them, right? Every Pokemon game starts out with your mom, your house, your hometown, your mentor, Professor Oak, and then the goal. You want to be the best Pokemon player in the world, or blah blah blah, and then you go do that, and that's always very rewarding, especially for people who love that formula. But I'm just wondering like what the longevity is, because I don't really see it, but of course again it's an early access, right? So like I can't really be too harsh on it because maybe they haven't even figured that out, and if given what we know about the company, like this is a real ragtag group of people, so I'm not sure how much they're able to support it. I hope all the hundreds of millions of money that they just made in the last 6 days, they're able to hire some more people who can actually animate things and make things, and put even more money into this. Because you notice, I saw this on Reddit, but you notice that the world map kind of looks like it's in a corner, because the tree is like in the northwest of it, right? So it's like, what if the tree is actually the center of the world, and then we're only getting like one part of it, and then there's like 3 other corners of the map? If that's the case, and that is massive, because the map that we already have right now is huge. I still have the bio. I'm going back to praising this game. I'm sorry, but the biodiversity. The biome diversity in Palworld is bigger than Halo Infinite, man. Like there's deserts, there's mountains, there's snowy things. It's crazy. But yeah, so there's a lot of potential here. So it's really, really hard for me to critique it too much, because again, it's really early access, and we didn't even know when this game was going to be announced or when this game was going to be launched until 2 weeks ago. They didn't know when they were going to release this game until 2 weeks ago. That's crazy, because they said we're going to release the game when we're close to being bankrupt, and then so we can release the game and we can make money off Palworld. And then they're not going bankrupt anytime soon, but they did that.
I think for me, there's like a lot of different little issues with the game. Like I think the AI isn't the best a lot of times, and that's for the enemies and your pals. I had a pal die just because they refused to eat. there was plenty of food on the table. I was like, I didn't like that. And then some of the enemies, they'll just like run into walls, so it makes the fight like super easy. So I would like to see them like fix that. I know people's game save files were like messing up, but I think the biggest thing that'll hold this game back is they got to make a priority for that crossplay. That was the main reason I was excited. I wanted to be able to play with my friends, and I'm still having fun playing by myself. But I got the Game Pass version, and then Ethos and the rest of them got it on Steam because I was like, I'm not paying for this. I paid for Game Pass for a whole year. I'm going to use it, and I can't play with my friends. I was like, that's what's kind of gonna hold me back. So I was like, I hope that they prioritize it. They released a roadmap, and that's one of the things they're gonna add, as well as like PvP and other stuff. But they got to clean up those technical issues. Otherwise, it's just gonna be like another flash in the pan. But for now, it's like I'm enjoying it for what it is. What about you, Ethos?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to just the dev team is very amateur. Like they are very newcomer, like light. They're not really full of veterans, and that makes a lot of sense because exactly what you were talking about, Gene, about like, oh, we're gonna wait till we're bankrupt and then we're gonna launch this with as much as we get done. That's what we're just gonna put out. It makes sense to because I have a feeling that just from my experience also developing an Unreal Engine, I'm assuming they developed up to a point where they just it is a gargantuan undertaking to get crossplay to work, and it's even bigger when you have to talk to two different platforms because you have to make a version of the game to work for Steam specifically because there's only Steam specific like stuff that you have to develop inside of the engine so it can talk to Steam. Then you got to make another version that can talk to Xbox's stuff that but it doesn't talk to Steam, and then you have to have some like middleware, some sort of server or some way that it's going to be able to talk with one another and then have them connect to each other. It's a monstrosity.
You were not going to figure that out 2 weeks ago.
yeah. There's no way you're going to figure that out. Like that is a literal like multi-year undertaking of not even just like 1 year. Like that is a whole like from the very beginning you have to think about that and then start slowly building the game to do that. And if you have to do that later on, it's even harder for you to do. So I think for them, good news is they have a lot of money, so they can throw a lot of money at the problem to probably fix it and get it done. And then the other thing too is, I know I read somewhere too that Epic had already did an emergency meeting because they were having issues with it on Epic Game Store. Like it wasn't like having issues like connecting to multiplayer and some other things. So it seems like Epic Games is also helping them from an engine standpoint to like fix a lot of those big issues and big problems that the game has right now. I do agree with you. I think right now the biggest thing is of course crossplay is number one. I don't know because my experience has been we had our own dedicated server that I have off of a virtual machine, but we've had no issues when it comes to like lag after I did that. But I will say the dedicated server definitely has like some memory leak issues. So like the game is not that fully optimized from like a backend standpoint. So they definitely need to improve on that to make it more stable. And then like what you said too, the stuff about like I've run into problems with like the AI, the pals getting stuck outside of the base and then them dying out there because they couldn't get back inside the base. Some like nav meshing stuff where like the AI didn't know how to get to a certain place. I've had it where some bosses or some enemy AI or some wild pals end up underneath the floor. I fell underneath the ground before and I went underneath the map. That happened to me a couple times. So these stuff do exist, but I do think a lot of the reason why Palworld's getting a lot of grace is because it people know it is an indie game studio. It's not a AAA studio. If a AAA studio had launched this, it would have been shat on. I guarantee. Like no one would have been playing this. They would have like imagine if Ubisoft had made this, right? There's no way this game would have blown up the way it did, even if it jumped on PC. People would have probably shat on it, said it was the worst thing ever, and probably would have just left and gone on. But I think it's because of this story that it has as being an indie developer, and like being ridiculous in the way that they've designed it, in the way it and the creativity. It's allowed a lot of people who are just like, yeah, the jank. I think in a weird way, I feel like the jank of the game actually works to its benefit. Like it adds to the comedy of it, where an AI might teleport or fling itself across the map, and like I've killed a pal and it goes flying in the air, and normally that's like funny. You see that you're like, what? But in this game, it's kind of hilarious. So yeah, it's like those funny glitches where I don't mind them.
Yeah, it's a little chaotic because like the most popular entertainment TV show right now on YouTube is Skibidi Toilet. You guys know what Skibidi Toilet is?
What is that? No, I've never heard
you don't know what that is?
No, yeah. I don't know.
It is the number one children's programming on YouTube right now. It's Skibidi Toilet, and it is a deranged like war between like manhead aliens versus something else. That's coming out of the toilet, but it's all made with Half-Life source assets, Oh
wow!
So that's why, like, I think we already have a generation that's primed and trained for bullshit like that,
They just take it for what it is and embrace it.
Yeah, so you see Palworld and say, "Oh, this is natural, whatever."
This is funny. Yeah,
this is funny. This is what life is like, you know.
I was gonna say, you know how I know they weren't prepared for the success. It wasn't just the fact that there was, because they had to call an emergency meeting with Epic Games to spruce up the servers. It's the fact that this game was on Game Pass, right? And I don't know if y'all peeped, but before leading up to this game, like Xbox didn't really tweet about this game. They didn't really talk about it. The game came out, so like 5 million, it's all over the Xbox account. Congratulations, pal. They're like, we got one. We'll support it. So I was like,
it's not on PlayStation. We got one.
I guess we're doing this. So like, I thought that was hilarious. And once again, it's just embracing the memes. It's
Xbox
funny.
Had no plan for Palworld. That's crazy.
No marketing plan. That's what it came across as. Yeah, it was just like
we just need something to fill the January slot. They probably, you know what's crazy? I feel like they were putting so much marketing towards Persona, the remake. That was the thing they were planning on marketing, and then like Palworld comes out a week or two early, and they're just like, they're like the the Homelander meme where he's just like, all right, he's just like, okay, all right, it's just like, okay, all right, let's do this. So yeah, now I think they're gonna run it all the way. Yeah, because now they have an actual game that a lot of people are really messing with. That is on Game Pass, and that like you can't get it on Switch, you can't get it on PlayStation. The only place you can get it is either you have a PC or you have an Xbox. It's the only console you can play it on. So I think they inadvertently didn't know they had a banger and they're ready to go, and now it's going to pay off in spades for their Game Pass. So.
Hey, what they say?
His like task force or whatever better get over to Japan and help those people out.
They say a win is a win. A win is a win.
Yeah, a win is a win. You send some of the developers over, help them.
So let me pivot the conversation to this direction. You're the big time journalist, Gene. So I want to hear you. I want to hear your thoughts on this. The elephant in the room. Does Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have a case against Palworld when it comes to copyright infringement? What do you think?
I do not think so. This is after not only talking to a lot of attorneys, but even just someone who has covered copyright cases before, like this is not going to fly. What will fly? If Nintendo will have a case if Palworld had literally Pikachu in it? That's it.
I would just like, before you finish, I would just like to state you're the first guest we've ever had on this show that said, talking to several lawyers, I love that. I love that.
Right. Normally it's just speculation, but you've actually spoken.
This man's coming with the credentials, but go ahead.
Right.
I told you I can't stop talking about Palworld. So.
I talked to my lawyers about it.
Yes, I hit up all my lawyer friends. I was like, hey, check these two out. Like do they have a case? And they're like, nah, they don't. And then then Bloomberg had a story, and they actually had 2 lawyers sit down and play the game for 10 hours, and they're like, nah, this isn't gonna fly. It's not gonna fly. Just because they have the same teeth or the same fin or the same eyes, that's not gonna work. Legally, that's not gonna work. You can call it plagiarism if you want, but plagiarism is defined by pretending to pass it off as your own work and not citing your source.
You're not saying it's
I think everyone knows where the source
is
of the inspiration for Palworld is, right? That's not a secret. And then 2, like it's just simply not a direct copy. We can scale the models and say how they're similar to size, but a wolf is a wolf is a wolf, and that's going to be protected. I really, really don't think that Nintendo will have any case, and that's why the statement. I don't know if we're going to talk about it later, but the Pokemon Company came out with a statement last night saying that we've heard about Palworld and we don't support our IP, our Pokemon brand being used in it, but they didn't say we don't support Palworld. I think they were just only talking about the modder that was actually selling a Pokemon mod that put Ash, Ketchum, and Pikachu and all them into the game, and then they took that boy down. But 2, I think they also put out the statement because they were tired of people asking.
I was just about to say that. That's what I got out of the quote.
Yeah,
finally, we'll say something. Leave us alone. That's what I got out the quote. I don't think they got a case either. Go ahead, Jay.
So here's a follow-up. Why do you think that people on the outside are trying their best to try to show the entire world that, hey, Palworld is copying off of Pokemon? These Pokemon are one-to-one to these pals. Why do you think that people are trying their best to try to get this game canceled?
I think, the easy answer would be Pokemon fans, right? Who are just bitter and sensitive, right? But I'll leave them alone because I'm a Pokemon fan myself, right? But I do think that it is Pokemon is a childhood memory, like a core childhood memory for a lot of people, right? So it does feel a little gross to see Palworld, So even when I saw it, I was like, it's a little weird and uncomfortable. I get that. So if someone even feels that much more deeply about Pokemon, then they'll be like, okay, well, I really gotta check, take down Palworld or whatever. But also, I just think that a lot of artists are just really sensitive, and they just want to kind of speak out about the work. But really, I think they're kind of forgetting that there are so many games and so many art that just copies each other all the time, and they copy each other.
No idea is original
all the time. Yeah. No idea is original. You look at music, you know, the Beatles were just copying Little Richard the whole time, you know, until they were able to finally figure out like their own sound. But at the but they got huge because they were just copying like Chuck Berry and Little Richard, you know, it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah. I'd say, I was gonna say, to piggyback off of that. I do think there's like two sections of it. I do think that one segment of the reason for people doing this is I think there is an agenda, of course, of individuals who are like Nintendo fans or they are Pokemon fans who are upset by this. I have friends like that who are like that, but I feel like I think it's a small vocal minority. I don't think it's a big one. Yeah, Twitter's obviously this, but because obviously, if this was a big majority, there wouldn't have been 7 million sales with this game. It wouldn't have been close.
8 million now.
This is just a very small niche.
10 million by tonight, you know.
Exactly. This is just a small niche.
Which, by the way, they confirmed, it was Jeff Keighley. I saw him tweet. They confirmed those are the Steam numbers. We don't know that's 7 million just Steam. We don't know Game Pass or Xbox. Yeah.
Wow. And I just a little sidebar here, you know, because a lot of people like to push that agenda that like, a game on Xbox causes developers don't sell the games. Yeah, or the Game Pass. People don't buy the games if it's on Game Pass, something like that. I'm like, well, look right here. Here's an example of a game where literally you have an option to play for free, or you can get it on Steam, and still it's sold X amount of dollars on a different platform. So yeah, that's a little side. But I think I do agree. I think it's like two segments. I think I put Nintendo Pokemon fans kind of in the same warp. I think a couple of them are kind of upset by buying this big IP, but I don't think it's just because it's like inspired by Pokemon. I think it's more of there's been this very strong growing voice, I feel like, from a lot of just mainstream gaming, not just like the Nintendo fan base, but just like Pokemon fans that have felt that Pokemon has kind of fallen off over the past couple of iterations. Like the last time they had something that I saw was like a spark of something where people were like excited about it was Arceus. Was that where it's kind of similar to Palworld. It was more open world and you could throw the Pokeball. So that was the first time I saw Nintendo fans like or Pokemon fans who like, wow, this is actually something kind of different than what we're used to. But ever since like that point, like Scarlet and Violet was a mess. That was a technical mess, and on top of that, it was kind of meh. The one before that was a remaster of Gen 5, and that was meh. And then like Arceus was the only like trade within that. But then before that, we had Sword and Shield, which was it depends on who you ask. And then you know X and Y, you know the I forgot the Hawaiian one, the Alola one. Like it was just been. It feels like Pokemon has been kind of going, kind of like declining a little bit as time has gone on, and they haven't. I don't know if it's a lot of people say, it's Nintendo. Nintendo's not giving Game Freak enough time to actually develop a really expansive game and stuff like that. And then other people say, no, that can't be true because at the same time, look at Zelda, and Zelda still looks way better than Pokemon has ever looked on the same platform. So that doesn't add up either. So it's something weird is happening. Maybe it's a shared responsibility of why Pokemon's been falling for this, whether it's profits or whatever the reasoning is. But I think that type of kind of almost to a point where I feel like for what I've noticed from some of my friends, like it's almost animosity towards Pokemon and Nintendo. And on top of that, there's been a massive hunger of PC people who don't have Switches, who don't play on other platforms. They're just PC-centric gamers. And we've always known this has existed. And I feel like they're the ones who are tapping in the most to this amount. We saw Xbox noticed it years ago. That's why they were the first people to be like, we're going to start putting our games exclusively on PC now. Then PlayStation slowly. I think I just read, I could be wrong. I just saw something on Twitter article like a couple days ago about how apparently one of the PlayStation executives is now talking about how now they're talking day and date, putting it on games on PC now in the future now, like how they were originally talking about how, oh no, we're going to make them like what they're doing now. We're going to wait 2 years before we put our PS5 exclusive on there. Now, apparently that tone is starting to shift now and PlayStation say the future is mobile and PC for us moving forward. This feels like a constant reoccurring thing. Nintendo seems to be the only one, no matter what, is just stuck, will not budge on this point. Like, well, they'll never budge on this point no matter what. They're never going to go to these other platforms. And now that I think that they're seeing this, I agree with what you said, TBH. I think the biggest thing here is that it's going to cause competition. At this point, it's unacceptable. If Pokemon come to your Game Freak drops another game, it is in my eyes. If I was a developer working on Game Freak, I'd be embarrassed. I would, and not just because of the game. I would feel embarrassed that like this is the type of like hunger and reaction that people had to know that like I've been failing that bad that all it took was kind of the Tony Stark meme, like Tony Stark built this in a cave, and
it's David and Goliath.
Yeah, and I'm a multi-million-dollar company, and you're telling me I couldn't replicate this. This is literally a game that Pokemon should have been able to develop and make 5 years ago. This could have easily been a game that Pokemon could have easily evolved into without the stabbing and killing. But you know, the more open world, more like being able to throw it, do more
play with our friends. Like the impact, like that would be great for Pokemon.
This should have been already in Pokemon. This should have already been the natural evolution of Pokemon. And to see it become so stagnant, like almost as if it's like Call of Duty at this point, it's really sad to see.
The co-op in Scarlet and Violet is just not that good. Not compared to like what we got at Palworld, where it's just seamless. You just drop in and out, and you're just interacting with your friends. Like that's dope. You know, you can't do that in Scarlet and Violet.
Right. Because I remember when that game got revealed, that was like the big thing, right? From Scarlet and Violet was like, there's gonna be co-op, and you can
online, and you play it.
And it's of course because Nintendo, like it didn't run well, so it's like it's embarrassing to me that this game runs better than the last Pokemon game.
It's online, dude. It runs trash like offline. It is unplayable online, man. It is crazy.
It's just
CODR.
They didn't fix it at all. They came out with this big tweet. They came out with a big tweet saying that they're gonna fix Scarlet and Violet, and they didn't do shit to it at all. It still runs like shit.
They just took their DLC and called it a day.
I did not know that. I just assumed they fixed the game. I didn't know that.
No, Nintendo actually.
I remember the memes when it came out. That's crazy.
It was bad.
It's still shit. So that's why I say that when the Pokemon Company statement came out, I don't think they're gonna do shit either. Either. So,
it's just like gonna be like whatever. So it's just a lot of animosity is what I'm getting here. Like not only with the artists, but with Pokemon, like longtime Pokemon fans themselves. They're just sick and tired of seeing like a newcomer come out of nowhere. Which again, you know, when we first saw it, everybody was like, "Oh, this is a freaking meme. Like, there's no way that this game is real, right? Like, but you're shooting and stabbing like pals. Like what? Like what the hell is this?" And it finally comes out, and it's a huge hit. So those are some great points. I mean, I have a better understanding, but
and the AI thing, I forgot to mention that the AI is the other
AI thing is the next thing. Yeah, they said said that too, which you know we can touch on a little bit, but yeah, that goes back to the artist problem because they're like, why are you using AI or potentially using AI to make your pals? You know, when you could get actual artists to do this, and then on top of that, we're claiming that this Pokemon looks exactly like this pal, so you're just copying 1-to-1 and then trying to scale it, but then realizing when somebody actually covers what you're trying to lie about, then that they're not 1-to-1. So
I'll say, like, you're allowed to be salty, but what doesn't help is, like, I don't know if y'all saw the Twitter thread of, like, the person. It was, like, day 3 when the game came out. You had mentioned it earlier, Gene, but, like, somebody had posted some images of somebody comparing the pals to the Pokemon 1-to-1. They, like, re-rendered the images, and they were like, look, see, 1-to-1. Yeah, so that person later admitted they lied, and they made those renders up. It was completely untrue. And my thing is, like, if you dislike Palworld and you want it to fail, it's not going to help. Like, just lying on the game and making shit up, bro. Because to me, once that person got exposed, I'm like, this is great publicity for Palworld. Like, you tried to shit on it, it came back out on top. It's more positive press for it. I'm just like,
honestly,
let it go.
It's crazy that account was covered by the press. That's the whole reason why that account got viral. And it's like that account got started last week, you guys.
Yeah, it was January. It was literally made January
2024. Yeah. It's crazy.
Do your research, okay?
Yeah. A lot of people didn't do their research. Like that was the crazy part. Is like it even got bad. Where like there's even developers I followed that like some of them just fell into it too. They were just convinced they're like, there's no way this game could come out to be this good or this set up this well with no experience. Like there has to be some cheat. Like I think
some of them were jealous. I think some of them were jealous.
I think it's some jealousy. There's definitely some jealousy.
I can't even find a general consensus on what the issue is because like on one end, I see people saying that they're using AI art. And then on the other end, I see people saying it's an asset flip. And to be honest, the way my brain...
It's not the same.
If there is evidence found that they're using AI art, then I'm like, okay, we're working with something here. There's no evidence for that. On the flip side though, if it's an asset flip, I'm going to be honest. If they got the assets off the Unreal Engine store and they flipped it and turned it into a multi-million-dollar business, to me, that sounds like you're working smarter, not harder. So I don't
had
understand what the issue is.
I had a conversation with DX because, like, literally, like, DX has played asset flips for literally years. I was like, his whole shtick was like pretty much showing like how Steam basically became overwhelmed by shovelware of people just taking assets, buying them off the store, and just shifting them off. Palworld doesn't do this, and a lot of developers do this. Like, a lot of developers, you'd be surprised, just actually will use different assets or buy them to help them with a base level because it saves time, it saves money, and it's more of like taking that and then shifting it and using it as a tool to help you develop your own thing of what you want to build. If that's what Palworld did, and we took some base assets, but we shifted them around, we made it work. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's wrong when you just buy something out of the store, it's unmodified, you don't do anything with it, you just copy paste it and then you just ship it and then you're just like, oh, we'll just make money off that. That's what asset flip, that's when it's bad. But this is literally, anybody who actually genuinely plays this game feels and knows there's effort done in this game. There's literal, like, you can feel it. Like, someone cared when they made this game.
The reason why the phrase asset flip game has like a bad tone over it is because mostly asset flip games are cheaply made.
That's true. Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. So what if you just had a really, really good asset flip game? Then you just buy it and you play it forever because it's great. You know,
it's good.
Yeah, being mad that it's a good asset flip is like being upset at me because I went to Home Depot and bought a hammer and then I went home and used it. What the fuck are you using that hammer?
Exactly.
Yes, I am. Like, what are we talking about, bro?
You didn't hire someone to use their own hammer for you? Oh, yeah.
You wanted me to chop the woods and make my own wood instead of buying the wood.
We got pals for that, baby. We got pals for that.
Right? Yeah. Pals do the work for you.
So like, if there's AI in there, I understand that. Then we can have a deeper conversation about that. But like, if it's an asset flip, y'all gotta let that go, in my opinion.
Well, and that's why a lot of tech journalists we're seeing this. This one tech reporter saw this and he was like, if you guys think that Palworld is AI, then you are a sucker because AI is not that good.
It's not that good.
And that's what I thought too. As soon as I saw the cow, the Mozilla or whatever, Ethos, you would know the freaking name. But
as
soon as I saw the cow, I was like, that is too perfect of a design for an AI to have made because that is just a Snorlax face.
AI can't even draw hands. Like, people don't even understand.
Okay, so at 6 fingers, 6, 7
I
fingers.
I literally think what it is what they did was, which I don't see anything wrong with this, especially when you're doing a parody and you're inspired by it. They took the base inspiration from a Pokemon, right? So let's say they take, okay, we want to make our Mewtwo of our game, right? So they took a picture of Mewtwo, they take Mewtwo, they might like bring him into the modeling software just so they have an idea of his dimensions, right? So you might do something like that, but your idea is like, all right, we're going to take references of what we think Mewtwo kind of looks like, but we're going to make our own thing like that. That's what everybody else does with inspiration. Like, this conversation is so stupid to me because it's like, can you imagine how back then, how many people would have said that about Uncharted when Uncharted 1 came out, and they would have said, what would they said? This is just Tomb Raider. They're plagiarizing Tomb Raider. They're plagiarizing, and it was Tomb Raider. They're plagiarizing Indiana Jones, or like what everyone's been saying. Pokemon, they've just been plagiarizing Dragon Quest in Japan for like the past decade. That's what it was based off of. The original designs were inspired by OG Dragon Quest. So it's like this thing constantly happens every single time. We've done this cycle over and over again. Think of like a great example. Think of Titanfall, right? Titanfall comes out, a lot of people get excited about it. Then what happened? Then every other shooter in the market had to make everybody go wall run. Everybody's got jump boosters and stuff like that. Like, this thing is just a constant. It's just a catch-22 of people we find something that's popular but we're gonna add our own twist to it. And that's Palworld. They took a bunch of predetermined ideas that have already existed and proven in the market that do work and people care about, but they added a twist to it, and that's why it blew up. It's a unique twist and it catches people's attention and it's provocative. That's basically the formula. That's the formula.
Think about how copyright works for dance. You cannot copyright a dance move. You can't just do this and then someone else does it and say, hey, that's my dance move, you know?
Yep.
But you can copyright choreography. And what is choreography? A sequence of dance moves.
Yep.
And that is what Palworld is. It is a sequence of dance moves that they took from something else, and the choreography is Palworld. You know, you can't that will fall apart in court. That will fall apart in court. You know.
So basically, a lot of these baseless accusations are non-starters. And this goes back to
everyone thinks they're a freaking lawyer. You know.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. I think that some people just don't need social media. I think we need an IQ test. We need to give everyone make everyone take an IQ test in order to use social media because like so many people are upset. Like we've had this conversation a million times. Like I remember when Horizon came out and people were complaining about multiple PlayStation games. As a matter of fact, oh my God, they're doing the same animation. It's like why the F not? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, they made the game, right? Don't they own the move that an artist actually generated in the game?
Lazy.
Yeah, of course they're gonna do it again. You calling them lazy? Like, are we enjoying the game or not? That's basically what it falls down to. If you're a Pokemon fan and you're upset at what Palworld are doing, how about you try the game? I feel like a lot of people haven't even tried the game. If you have the opportunity, try the game, see what you think, and then put the pressure on Nintendo. That's it. You know, because that's what it's going to come down to. If you don't put the pressure on Nintendo, and Palworld is putting the pressure on Nintendo to make a better game, you know, using the actual franchise that you love dearly, then you're going to be stuck in the same place. And what are you going to do? Just continue to complain to Nintendo and Game Freak for years, and they still don't give you what you want when Palworld is sitting right there, possibly giving you what you do want that the Game Freak has not done. So, I mean, figure it out. It's really going to be up to you instead of just complaining about it and lying and making baseless accusations like Nintendo is going to come through and do something. Nintendo usually does come through and do something because they are the Yakuza still. But in this case, if they don't have a case behind it, then, you know, what can you do? You can only handle the modders. That's the only thing that you really had, because, okay, that's a 1-to-1. That's using your IP, that's using your assets. Okay, you can get them out of here, delete them out of here, but if you don't have a case against Palworld, then it is what it is. You got to just sit there and deal with it.
I wish they'd spend the amount of time that they wasted their time going after people with DMCAs and stuff. I wish they'd spend that amount of time making a good Pokemon game. How about that? Well, that's what they should do.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move the conversation forward. It's all about perspective. If Nintendo has a great perspective, this is actually a good thing, because if the rumors are true about this Switch 2 coming soon, there's going to be more power under the hardware. This is a great way to set the stage for them. They drop the Switch 2, and then they innovate and drop a fire Pokemon. Like, all eyes will be on them when all the new stuff is coming out, and probably the next year or two if these rumors are true. So it's a matter of perspective, or they could just, you know, run with their head tucked between their tail or whatever. I don't know. I think Palword's cool. I'll enjoy it for what it is right now. I think a lot of people will. A big surprise for this year, and I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is and not dig too deep into it. I mean, it's at the end of the day, sometimes I forget. I feel like people forget these are just games.
Just video games.
It's just video games.
Just video games.
Speaking of just another video game, Suicide Squad. Something interesting happened. Well, first of all, this game, at the time in which we're recording, it's a week away from release. But something interesting happened before the last podcast. So maybe it was like 3-4 weeks ago, they had a closed alpha test. And a lot of people got to play, and several people in GI got to play the game, but you were under NDA and you weren't allowed to talk about it. And then I wake up one day and I look on Twitter and the NDA was lifted. And I was like, oh, they letting people talk about the alpha, not the beta, but the alpha. I was like, okay. We got a couple people in here that actually played it. So I was like, all right, let me throw it on the show notes, because I want to hear what y'all got to say. I didn't actually get to get any hands-on time. For those unfamiliar with Suicide Squad, it's the new co-op shooter, looter shooter from Rocksteady, the ones that made the Batman Arkham series. And Brainiac has taken over Metropolis, and you have to kill the Justice League with Suicide Squad members. Oh, wait. Before we actually share our first impressions of the Suicide Squad Alpha, we have a special treat for you all. We pulled this off last minute. This was not a part of the original recording, but we're plugging it in. We got an interview with one of the developers on Suicide Squad. His name is Dell Walker. He specifically worked on Deadshot's character model, and he gives a lot of great insight that I think you guys are going to enjoy. So without further ado, enjoy this exclusive interview from a Suicide Squad dev.
Here comes a new challenger!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a special guest on the show. This man is an industry vet with 13 years experience under his belt. He's responsible for some of the art in several award-winning video games you might have heard of. Games like Jedi Survivor, The Last of Us 2 Remastered, and the upcoming Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Today, he's here to share his story and hopefully drop some gems for the audience that have aspirations of hopefully maybe getting into game development. Mr. Dell Walker, welcome to the Game and Illuminati podcast.
Damn, you make me sound important. Yeah, thank you.
You don't accidentally hold a job for 13 years. You kind of.
No, I think that those games that you worked on are pretty important, sir.
For sure. We appreciate you joining us. We know you're a busy man, and it's really an honor to even speak to somebody like you. I wanted to open up the conversation, and I want to just say, let the audience know a little bit about who you are, your journey, how you found your passion for art, and like how that led to the gaming industry.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think some people might make the assumption that, like, oh, you always knew you wanted to work in video games, or that you just make that assumption, right? It's like you had a clear goal or a clear vision. It kind of really wasn't like that. If anything, yeah, I definitely stumbled into it. Where probably watching like bonus features of like, you know, Star Wars bonus CD where they're like, oh, they show the people behind the making of, or like the old Matrix bonus DVD. I was like, oh, okay, cool. You can actually be like a creative person or an artist and work in entertainment. Like I always heard that when you're an artist, you know, you'd never get a job that can fund your lifestyle or anything. So I was like, oh, cool. I'm actually decent at art. Like maybe I should try and pursue this. So yeah, that led me to studying, I guess, what I initially wanted to do was like concept art, like all the drawing for like movies or entertainment. Then I stumbled across like 3D applications, and then I was like, tried it, and I was like, oh, this is okay. I can do this. And then I met, I can't remember his name right now, but I met someone who worked on the Tony Hawk's titles. So like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Mm-hmm. And he was a characterized, like, and I was like, what does that mean? And he was just like, I make the character models that you play as in the game. Yeah, and that was it. After that, I was just like, yeah, I didn't even know that even existed. Like, so yeah, I studied and then got myself in like a tiny studio after I graduated that made like SpongeBob games. That was it. Like, SpongeBob was my claim to fame in the beginning. I was like, yes, I've made it. And then,
did you feel like you always had like a natural affinity to art? Like, could you naturally like draw and then you went to school and kind of took it to the next level? Like, how did that work?
Yeah. I guess I had a natural aptitude, but I think that came from having like Jamaican parents who are like, you just had to learn patience. Like, patience was like the most important thing in the household. It's like, and that just aligns well with learning a craft like drawing. It could have been anything. It's not like, oh, I was like born an artist. I was just like, I was quite happy to just keep doing this thing over and over again. Because yeah, my upbringing.
You got a favorite game?
Yeah. It's two. There's two games. Final Fantasy X and SSX3.
Okay.
Okay.
And go ahead. My fault.
No, those are the two games I can play over and over again, like forever, just forever.
And were any of those two games that they kind of inspired? They give you inspiration to even take your art to like another level, or is there another game specifically that you played that was like, wow, I need to get into this?
No, those were the two games that like I realized how amazing it must be to make a character, and like people sit with that character for like 50 hours.
Yeah.
I was like the connection was definitely through those games where you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I got really into Devil May Cry as well and stuff like that, and it was a similar thing. But those two games I mentioned before were the first where I was like, I could make the connection with like, I enjoy this game, but a lot of my enjoyment comes through spending time with this character.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I want to give a little bit of a backstory to the audience who are not familiar with you, but how I actually became familiar with you. So when the first Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League trailer dropped, I think it was universally praised by the Black gaming community because Deadshot's hairline was extra crispy. We was like, yes, this looks like a black man. And I was streaming when the trailer dropped, and I had on stream, I was praising what Deadshot had looked like. And then I actually ended up clipping that and uploading it to social media. And it went a little viral. And I guess it ended up on your timeline. And that's how we ended up interacting with one another. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the inspiration behind how you were able to create such an author. Because like sometimes it seems like it's like a challenge to create a authentic black man in a video game. Like what? I guess because you are black. I don't know, man. Give us the insight. Why were you able to make that crispy hairline?
Well, I think the biggest thing that like once you get in the games industry and you're at the point where you're making characters for games, you're gonna need to wait a while before anything that you have is relevant to what the needs are. Because quite frankly, they ain't releasing Wu-Tang games like they used to. So you have to almost like wait for the opportunity to be like, oh, I know something you don't. And part and parcel of that is the games industry has gone a long time with a specific demographic being in charge of decisions. that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing things deliberately, but they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that would be true of if any of us were like in charge of a Bollywood game. We'd just be like, yo, we're just guessing here. We're not sure. Oh, I have a good idea. And we just might miss like integral parts that someone would be like, nah, you missed a very vital piece of my culture. So then when it came down to working on Deadshot, yeah, it was like there was a whole thing about, you know, his look, but I was able to basically completely control the conversation because thousands of hours in barbershops have given me an edge of everyone else in this conversation. So I was coming through like, you know, a scholar on this subject, you know, not just even down to like a good example is Deadshot is meant to be like in his mid to late 30s in the game. I think maybe they made it nebulous, but he's like early 40s, maybe end of his 30s. And so there was this kind of thing about like, oh yeah, we should like gray him up. And I was like, well, just so you know, like, I think maybe your perception of what people who look like me look like at that age might be different from like what's in your head. Like, because, you know, Chadwick Boseman did Black Panther basically age 50.
Black don't crack. Just say it, bro.
Right.
I'm like 40s, right? People graying out at 40.
Right. And so I was like, the only way you're gonna really show his age is maybe in his voice and maybe in his beard. Like, and then you can start moving the hairline a bit, but it shouldn't be crazy. It shouldn't be crazy because he's still trying to look aspirational.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the whole thing about like the hairline, like that was a whole presentation about like, here is like how culturally we think of aspirational looks. And like, you have to think this character is a very vain character. Like Deadshot loves Deadshot. This is like, he's the opposite of Boomerang in that sense. Right? He's like extremely proud, thinks he's the best, like he's not insecure. And that's what problematic in itself, but that's going to display in your lineup. And it was very easy to say that because I could show, you know, prisoners, you know, people in the municipal jails, and they have crispy lineups because it's just part of your cultural pride. You're like, hey, I don't have my freedom, but I at least have. Right. So it made it a little bit easier to have that conversation because I had like an advantage. But I don't think anyone does weird stuff deliberately. I think they just don't really know. They didn't know that would go viral, right?
It's not malice, it's general ignorance, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
I also have a side question about this because I know this is something that we've been bringing up lately is how a lot of new black characters have been coming out and they've all had speaking of Black Panther, they've all had the Killmonger going on. Do you feel like that's a lot of it where it's like, do you feel like it's a pendulum swift where it's like, oh, now we'll do it, but now they're going like too far in one direction? You feel like there's like been you probably seen it yourself, like 5 to 6, multiple haircuts and stuff like that. Do you think that's what it is right now? It's just shifting one way to the other, it's finding that middle ground?
I think it's... I also think it's a more of that they don't know what they don't know. So they've been introduced to one cool
haircut.
And instead of saying, maybe there's more here, they've already finished. They're like, well, I found the cool haircut. I found the cool haircut.
It.
Yeah.
We found the black. This is what they like here.
Right.
Like, no.
And I mean, it's helpful that it's cool.
Yeah,
right. It's way better than the mid afro that you would get on the PS2 eras.
Yeah, the afros and the general cornrows.
What you got to do is you know how every black barbershop has that chart with like 50 different haircuts. You got to bring that to the game development room, bro. Just show them the chart.
Like
every studio just put it on the wall somewhere.
Yeah.
Pick one.
You're not wrong.
But that's very important that you said before we move on. It's very important what you said. We've had this conversation before, and specifically when Mafia 3 came out, we spoke about how there wanted to be more black representation in video games because, you know, the black representation we were seeing before, and TBA talks about this a lot, was Coltrane in Gears of War. And it was like we're tired of having the stereotypical black person, right? Like, you know, and these other devs, these other game studios just don't know, you know, what black people truly are. And, you know, you brought up a good point. And I've said it before multiple times. I'm like, you know that we are making these games. If we aren't making these games, then this is what we're going to get. Instead of directing our anger towards the studios, full of white people, then we need to make our own games. I know it's not that simple, but again, now we have a shining example in you. You'll have Ethos here, and he'll get into his story in a minute. But like we have other examples of like how when you make your own things, or you have the opportunity to influence, like you have a loud voice to influence what gets made. Whether it's a character model or the voiceover, how the actual black person acts in whatever video game that's going to come out, then that does make a difference. And then we'll start seeing better representation of ourselves.
I'm glad too you said that it wasn't like malice either. It's just genuinely they don't know. So that's actually what we wanted to bring you on the show. It's like, yo, like you can do it if you're in the room and and you have that insight. I wanted to pivot the conversation a little bit too. Like, how did it actually make you feel to see the response from like black gamers, the way that Deadshot looked in the game? Like, how did that make you feel?
I'll be honest, I was looking for it. Like, okay, yeah, I was
intentional. All right,
yeah, because here's the truth. If he did not have that lineup, if he had like
he would get cooked.
They will come for me. But the Metacritic score would stay the same. Mm-hmm. Like the actual like game reception may not be impacted by that, but culturally there'd be some cooking to do for sure. Like I would get cooked because I do the same thing. Like, so I was intentionally looking for responses from black gamers because it was like I worked on that character for many weeks and many months even. Like it was a long time, and it was like I probably spent a little bit too long on certain aspects, but it was for the reception of like, oh, okay, cool. This isn't just like, oh, cool, some reviews or whatever. This is people's perception of people who look like me. Mm-hmm. Like I know of times that, all right, a perfect example is Mae Jemison. So she's the first African-American woman astronaut in the, I guess, the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
And that's like, people would be like, oh, that's amazing. And people ask what was her inspiration to go and pursue NASA. She was picked out of like, 128,000 applicants, and all of the applicants had like crazy resumes. You needed to have like insane engineering. You had like have to have 2 degrees, work in Peace Corps. It was insane just to apply. And she was chosen. And she said her inspiration for pursuing being an astronaut in NASA was Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because she saw Uhura. In Star Trek, and it's like the media depiction of someone who is like her gave her the self-confidence to feel like, oh yeah, I can do that. And that's like, Star Trek is not in no way like biographical or like trying to represent anything that other than just aspirations. So yeah, when people are like, oh yeah, was it fun working on a black character? I was like, this is actually really important to my culture, that people see something that's like them, that's a cool depiction. Like it affects their self-esteem. Mm-hmm. It actually affects their self-esteem. So yeah, it was a big deal for me. I was looking for it. I was looking for that response.
First time I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, a lot of people about to cosplay him. He looks right. I gotta ask you, what's your favorite game you've worked on so far? Because we named some heavy hitters early, and why? What was the reason?
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough.
He said, "Man, I just got so much heat under my belt."
I tell you, I came up with that question. I was like, "Yeah, ask him this. This will get him."
I think the game that gave me like the most electric was SpongeBob Surf and Skate, because it was because it was the first game I made a character model and it appeared in the game, and it wasn't real until that happened. It wasn't like I was working on that on my computer. Now I can watch a YouTube of someone playing it. It was like, yeah,
How does
was
that
crazy.
I'm curious, how does that work too? Like when you're like in a studio setting, when you're making characters, is it really like, do you feel like you just get to assign like, hey, make this NPC character, or make SpongeBob or something like that, and then that's your responsibility? Or is it more like a shared where it's like, I work on this aspect of this character, then another person works on this aspect? Do you like, is it like that? Is it like collaborative, or is more of, I take care of this is like my baby, I work on this, and X
Yeah,
on them?
you get to talk like that when you got more than 10 years experience.
Yes.
But then it's like, it's caveated by how important is the character. So if you want the freedom of working on character models and have exactly what you said in the beginning, where you're like, yeah, this is mine, no one's really troubling me too much, I kind of like, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to give him a scar on his cheek, I'm feeling to like change this up.
Sure.
Then request to work on security guard number 6. Do
It's
not
yours.
request- Yeah.
It's all yours.
They'll be like, cool, no problem. The moment you're working on something that's going to appear in the box,
Mhm.
it is not quite like that.
It's scrutinized heavily then everywhere.
Extremely,
Yeah.
extremely. You
That
know,
makes
the
sense.
belt buckle on Deadshot changed like 4 times. Like,
Yes.
I finished it, put it in the game, and they're just like, so it's, yeah, the level of scrutiny is way higher. But for the most part, you're dealing with the concept art, which is the drawing or illustration of what you'll be making.
Yep.
And that gets heavily scrutinized. The art director's going to take a long time to get exactly what he wants. That might even have like outside people who have a say on how it goes. Like they might have the franchise holders like Warner Brothers be like, yeah, okay, we're happy with this, but we're not really sure about this part. That can kind of confuse our branding if we ever want to use that. Like it all makes sense. It's all very well thought out. But then when you're making the model, the more important the character is, the more your model has to adhere to the concept art. But you can like, you're just elevating it, right? You're bringing it to life, elevating it. And then there's things that you might not think of. Like, yeah, I can talk about SpongeBob all day because that studio's completely gone. So,
They got wiped out. So
yeah, that studio closed down a long time ago.
no legal obligations.
I got one for you. No, I'm glad you brought up it took 4 different iterations with the belt buckle on Deadshot, because now I want to ask you, I would imagine that can be a little bit deflating as an artist. Like, what do you do when you lack inspiration? How do you recenter yourself?
No, you need to come in like without an ego, or you're wasting your time. You need to come in like, yeah. There's like a whole thing about like artist personality and writer's personality, where they have to learn very quickly that most of what they make will end up in the trash. And they have to learn that quickly, because if you start associating your ego with something like
your self-worth.
whoa,
Yeah,
that's
it gets deep.
dangerous.
I know personally. Yeah,
Just talking about this before we
gets
started
deep.
recording. I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah,
it gets deep.
that's real dangerous grounds. That's
Yeah.
real dangerous grounds. Like you don't want to be in a situation like where your worth is completely linked to like what you're making. It should just be the process of making and trusting the process. So yeah, you just wouldn't be a good co-worker as well if you're like, hey, we need to change this, and they're like, oh wow, but this is my
That's bad. Okay.
This is my vision.
That's facts. That's a
this
good
is my
perspective.
vision. Like, yeah, like,
I love that.
No, it's not gonna go. Like the Thriller album, Quincy Jones said like a couple of years ago, there were like 80 something tracks, and he just chose 10. And we're like, what? You should have never told us that.
Don't tell
I
us
need to hear
this.
the other 70.
Right. Yeah.
But just you can be that at the level of your craft that you're just like, I'm cutting all of this to focus on the parts that are premium. You gotta have a certain something in you.
That is amazing. Keeping it at the game development side of things, what do you feel like, because you're very active on Twitter and talking about like the gaming industry, what do you feel like is the biggest misconception about being a game developer or the process of it?
I'm not sure what the biggest misconception is, because it changes. People have asked me this question before, but it changes. But I think there is a little bit of here's one thing. I don't know what's a good faith and bad faith question. Like online, you have to have very, very thick skin, especially me, like, because I'm black. So I'm getting N-word in my DMs every single day, basically.
For real?
By invisible. Yeah.
Jeez.
I'd say like like I have a family that I would never put online, for example, because I'm like, okay, cool. If you're in my DM telling me you're gonna lynch me because you don't like how the game came out, I don't know who that is and I don't know what you're capable of.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I have the thick skin to be able to. I don't say I have the thick skin to be able to handle it, but I'm handling it so far.
You are a human. You have your days, basically.
Right, for sure. And so I don't want to say, oh, they don't know like what we have to deal with. I actually think they do know what they deal with. I think that's the point.
They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't care. They just don't care.
I think that's the point. I think the point is I am creatively bankrupt. I can't make anything. And so my job is to hurt you, because that is like all I have. For some people, for some trolls, they're like, I just want to hurt you. Like, and so, but I mentioned before as well, there's a lot of game developers that just don't have a presence online like that. And I'd say it's a wise choice.
Yeah, you think that's for the better?
I actually think I would actually say there is very little upside to it. Obviously, there is some upside. I wouldn't be here talking to you. Otherwise, like, we connected through the fact that we're both like active online. Like, so I have a lot of connections that happen through my online presence that the people I was like, this is my friend now, that I'm made through my online connection. So I get benefits from that. But the downside outweighs the upside a lot, you know? Like, but yeah, I also think people don't think developers care. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be sensitive that you can't critique what I make. You can go create, like I mentioned before, thousands of hours in the barbershop, you're going to be ready for life in a certain kind of way. Because they're going to find you, something about you, and rip the shit out of you. And that's just culturally something that we've had to deal with. Like, so I can handle it. If people are critiquing me, I'm like, or they're critiquing the product, I'm like, hey man, everyone's free. Everyone's free to have their opinion, right? You're free to have your opinion. Like, it's more so that when people say, oh, the developers are lazy, they don't care. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. That's probably the biggest misconception.
I've learned as I've gotten older, the biggest issue I've seen is a lot of people are not capable of thinking outside of themselves. And that's why they make those type of statements. Because like to them, they'll be like, oh, the balancing on a game is off. And they'll say that.
I wouldn't have made that mistake.
Yeah. So it's like that's what I noticed. And it's a lot of projection. So like you might be right. It probably is best for like a lot of developers to just stay away from it, because like I don't even think it's necessarily coming from a place of like malice. It's just like they're probably just ignorant to a lot of it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
and when it happens a lot, it's hard to control. When it happens a lot, you know, people do they literally look for whoever they can find, and it's usually like the community managers
who to find the first.
Yeah, and it's for the community. I feel for the community managers of any high level development or publisher, because they get it. They're
the first line of defense. They literally
are. They really are. And it's like, I don't make the game. I'm supposed to be talking to you all, and then now you're sending me death threats. Like they're literally being the shield for a lot of you all who are in the background who developed the game. So it sucks.
That's one thing we actively preach against. Like on our show is like, we'll criticize a game, but we always keep it gaming. We always say like, yo, y'all got to chill out on these devs on Twitter. Like it's not that deep, bro. It's just
video games, dog.
Right.
You're acting like they killed your firstborn and sacrificed them to a god. Like relax.
Oh my goodness.
And the thing is, the devs can handle the critique. It's just that it just doesn't make sense to go to them. Like, I can't change a game. I can change how a beard looks on one guy, but my overall power is quite limited.
So if I have an issue with Suicide Squad's security guide number 5, I can tweet you on Twitter and tell you to change it.
Well, not anymore. But
He said, I'm past that email. I'm past security guard number 5.
Oh my goodness. With Suicide Squad around the corner, it's coming out this week on February 2nd. Let's move away from the negative. Let's talk positive. What was the coolest thing about working on the game? What was your favorite aspect?
Yeah, definitely the team. And I can't praise this guy enough. Like the character art director, he's the character and weapons art director. Albert Felly, and he was basically there since Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City days. He's been there the whole time working on the characters of the game. But he is the one that super empowered me, more than I've ever had in industry. Me saying, nah, he needs this lineup and he needs this haircut. He was the one that had the call, and he was just like, okay, yeah, cool. Even down to Deadshot's got a blue eye and a black eye. I just threw that in. I was just like, I thought it was cool, like to switch it up, and it kind of imitates the mask. And he was just like, yeah, it looks cool. Like he was my advocate. Even a perfect example is Hack. So the character Hack is the like the purple holographic character who, whenever you're doing your upgrades, she'll appear on the right hand side of the screen, and as you're like doing your upgrades, your bolt-ons, and customizing your character, she's the one that's effectively in charge of that stuff, and you see her in the game as well, and she helps in missions too. But you know, I was part of the process with the lead, Andrew Matthews, who's like in charge of the casting of, you know, who we're going to kind of use as like the faces, what we're going for. And both him and the character art director were like, you know, no, we want you in this process of helping us narrow down the face of this character as like. And so it's not just a case of just like, oh, find a black woman on the internet, just throw her.
Pick one.
She's the guide. It's like, no, like, let's bring Dell in the conversation. Let's talk about this. Like, what sort of things should her representation be like? And even like deviating from the concept art. Like I managed to put like her natural hair texture in the holographic version. So if you're close to her in the game, you can see like, oh, she actually has afro hair, even when she's like in her
Can I just say, you guys, I played the pre-alpha of it. That was one thing I was actually shocked by, because I actually walked up really close. I was like, oh snap, and I walked up close. The way that you guys did the holographic effects on top of like just her natural hair, where it wasn't all like just visual effect. There actually was like, seemed to be like a hair model done with it and connect and talking with it. I know that's very difficult to do, especially with our type of hair. I know a lot of times technology has issues. Right. I appreciate you. I just want to say, I recognize that. I was like, because I do game dev stuff too, and I know a lot of times tools are very difficult because the people who make those tools don't really build them in the idea of like, for like our type of hair texture and stuff like that. So you have to do a lot of behind the scenes, like glitching and bugging to get it to do what you want it to do, so it seems natural and it looks right. So just to say, yeah, great job on that. Yeah, definitely.
But well, anyway, that was probably the best part, like having the influence and be heard and be listened to. I just keep talking about, like, you know, the people I worked with on that game, because I actually loved them. Like, it was such a great experience. Like, I haven't worked alongside them for a little while now, but it was just a great experience.
Cool.
It's good to hear.
That is awesome. Before we started recording, I had told you the majority of our audience is black and brown, and that's the reason I wanted to bring you on the show, because it's important for our people to see people who look like you doing what they want to do. So the way I want to end this conversation is I wanted to ask you, what's one piece of advice, or you can give several, to people who want to be in the gaming industry and do what you do?
I think the most important thing you need to do is take the process quite seriously. Like, you have to, if you want to get into games or you want to take it seriously, like some people are just like, yeah, just make a game. And my counter argument is you should take your learning seriously. Like, you should be like, all right, cool, I'm interested in this. What mentoring or workshop or online course can I take that, even like, it should cost you some money to invest in, because you're investing in yourself, right? Like, you know, you could go to a free barber, or you can, you know, invest in one. It's going to have a different outcome.
You go to barber school.
Right.
Or you're someone that's been looking at YouTube tutorials.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'd say that's probably my main advice. If you're interested, get really serious about understanding, take the time to understand what it is you're interested in, whether it's like, I'm interested in design, I'm interested in like 3D modeling, or like environmental modeling, character modeling, drawing the concepts, you know, audio as well. That's another thing, audio. Like, we know a lot of people who are insane producers.
Jesus, yeah.
Insane producers.
Yeah.
And they're using those same programs to make your favorite games.
Yep.
Like, and it's like, you try and look at what your skill set is, what you naturally have an affinity for, and then find some sort of course or online course that you can to like bridge the gap to get your skill set, and you can find an avenue into the video games for sure.
That was dope. I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
And if people wanted to follow you and keep up with what's going on with you in your life and your career, where can they follow you at?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's probably a bad decision to follow me. At the Cartel Dell, all one word.
Cool. I will leave it in the description box of the video if you guys want to follow him on social media and keep up with him. But other than that, we appreciate you for coming on the show, Mr. Dell Walker. This was a great conversation, man, and I hope the audience enjoyed it. And we'll talk to you guys later. Jay, what you think of the game, the alpha?
Yeah, I guess one positive I could say is it seems like the story is going to be, pretty engaging. And I feel like there were parts in the alpha that I did enjoy. Like, I think it is a breath of fresh air seeing it, because it kind of reminds me of Injustice as well. Because, in the Injustice story, you had the, certain members of Justice League, end up being evil. So I do like that aspect of trying to figure out what's going on with the Justice League. Brainiac is taking over all the Justice League, and your job is actually try to kill them. So I think that the story is cool, but when we get to the gameplay, like you have the tutorials and you get to play with the 4 main characters, and ultimately you figure out which one that you like the best, and all of them have their own different abilities and stuff. But at the core of the game, all we're doing is just killing like mindless enemies, mindless
don't
enemies
say
here.
that.
No, I mean it's almost exactly like what we saw. It's almost exactly like what we saw.
That is exactly what I thought it was going to be, man.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. Like, I didn't see really anything different when I actually got my hands on it that would make me say, "Hey, they were wrong. Everybody was wrong about what they saw." Like, I can't defend this game at all. And I think what would ultimately piss me off, outside of just the enemies being brain dead and you just like doing this repetitive stuff over and over and over, I really don't like the whole loot system. And more news has came out talking about it's going to be like Diablo. I'm like, but that doesn't excite me in this game. It does not excite me to have Diablo style loot, especially given, like, if you've seen Diablo, have you played Diablo? Some of that loot is super hard to get, and you have to run through these dungeons multiple times, and you have to exploit the game in order to get some of this loot. So why would I want to do that in the Suicide Squad game? I'm sorry, I don't want to do that in the Suicide Squad game. I don't want different types of loot and hard to get loot that I have to constantly do these missions over and over and over. Like, I don't want to feel like this game has dungeons or multiple missions that I have to do over and over and over just to get a rare piece of loot. I'm sorry, I'm good on that. And I think even with the co-op aspect, it's not going to be enough for me that I'm going to be like, I want to get this day one, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy it. Like, I really would need to see something later on down the line, them tweaking the AI, making it a little bit harder, making it not so repetitive as we're going through whatever mission that we're doing, in order for me to be like, all right, I'm cool. Like, I can say that this game and what we saw initially is different when you actually get the retail game. Right now, the alpha did not do it for me.
You know what breaks my heart about what you just said is, because y'all know I'm super into the superhero stuff. It's the fact that you said that, because it looks like it in the trailers, and like the enemies are brain dead. That's what breaks my heart about it, because it's tone deaf to the source material. In the DC universe, Brainiac is one of the smartest motherfuckers in the comic books. He's not one of Superman's greatest villains. He's just one of the greatest villains in the DC universe. And you're telling me he's hacking a city and it's just a bunch of mindless zombies running around? Like, I was like, I think they could have spent a little bit more time on trying to develop some more interesting fights compared to what I'm seeing in this gameplay, where they're just kind of standing there waiting to be shot. Let me ask you this though, Jay. What version of the game did you play for the alpha, and then how did it run for you in terms of performance? Like, was it optimized?
Yeah, I played it on PC, so I got the same version. It was optimized. I'll give them that. I didn't have any issues with that. So that's, again, another positive. At least it played
good that way. Yeah, those are good that way. I mean, they're good at that. So, are they? They came up with Arkham Knight. So,
yeah, that could.
Revisionist history.
It's iffy.
What's the name? You got some time with the ethos. What did you think? This guy. Yeah, can you be relaxed?
All right, you know what? I was thinking about it in my head. I'll defend this game.
Okay.
I personally think, from what I've perceived from my own, only my eye sampling, I feel like there is an agenda. There's a out to get this game type of agenda for this game. I think since the very beginning, this game has been set on a path to make sure that the gaming community has just decided that this game is going to get crucified and that it sucks.
It's before anyone's
fully play. I feel like, you know what's crazy? I'm going to say this. it reminds me of Anthem and like the good parts of Anthem. Like it reminds me the movement system. Deadshot literally reminds me of the javelins in Anthem. Like, and you know, when we played it, that was one of the core things we thought was good about the game. We thought the traversal was really cool. The movement, no game since has ever hit that like level of like feeling like the Iron Man suit than Anthem. No one's gotten close. And it's been years. And we always felt that the core like combat loop of Anthem was pretty cool. It just needed a little bit more. It needed more meat around the actual like what you're talking about, the RPG elements, the looting elements. And from what I've seen from the videos, I will give them credit. They've done a very good job with the rollout of like showing everybody what's in the game, right? Like even like post launch, like, hey, we're just being very transparent. This is what the game's gonna have and all that sort of stuff. I think overall this might have been to the detriment of the game because it's kind of now it's like kind of what you said, JG. I think a lot of people did not want a looter shooter. That's what it is. I feel like if you go into it with just accept like, okay, this is going to be a looter shooter type game. Let me see if I still end up liking it. I think there's actually something solid here. From my experience of playing it, I like the movement system. I play with co-op with a couple friends. I like the co-op system of it. I like the I liked like the characterization. I think they nailed the characterization of all the characters. They feel like they're from Guns universe. I think they nailed the voice acting, the interactions they have. There's a segment in the demo where you run into Batman, and I'm not even joking you. I don't want to spoil exactly for people who haven't seen it, but it's like mwah. Like it is literally a like entire like hawking back to the original trilogy. But imagine like, you know how you play Batman, right? So you're sneaking around and you're grabbing people and stuff like that. But imagine it reversed where you're getting stalked. You're the one getting stalked. That was like, those are moments where I was like, that's a flash of genius there. And I'm hoping that that's not just flashes in the pan. I hope that like
is that gameplay
yes, like, this wasn't even a cutscene. It was literally like you had to go through a Gotham museum, right? And so this is, mind you, while co-op's going on. So it's a 4-player co-op system. So all 4 of us are walking through this museum that's actually explaining the lore in a cool way. It's not just yelling it down your throat. It's a cool museum that's actually telling you the events of what happened in the original trilogy. So you actually get to like go down memory lane of, oh yeah, I remember that from the first game. Oh, I remember that. It's really cool. But then you hear that infamous Batman Arkham sound, the bat sound, and you're just walking and you're just discovering more. And there's like, you know, there's smoke, so it's hard to see. And you're just like, what's going on? And you're trying to get to the other side of the museum. So while you're walking around here, and your actual friends, like who are actually other players controlling them, are also walking with you, they just get quietly taken out by Batman in the shadows. He's just knocking them out. You hear the whole pow, and then their mics cut out, and you're just like, what happened? So then all the other characters who are alive, they're freaking out. They're like, oh god! So it becomes a horror game. So you're trying to run and get out of the museum, but Batman's like slowly, systematically taking each of them out, and then like that stuff where I was like, yes, this is so cool. This is cool in a co-op standpoint. Mm-hmm. This is really unique. I like this. I'm hoping that, like kind of what JG said, I'm hoping that it's not just Destiny and it's just go defend the computer here and just keep doing that in the open world, and that's all you do for every mission. I hope that every main mission is like that, where it is this unique aspect of it's not just shooting at the superhero constantly with guns, with power-up guns, and just trying to get a bullet sponge. I hope that they actually involve some really unique, the traversal is really cool. I just hope they involve some really unique gameplay mechanics within like the boss fights and how you do them. If they do that, me personally, I'll be cool to play it. I'll be like, okay, this isn't exactly a single player Arkham game that I'd want to play. This isn't like a Batman Beyond game, which I wish they made. But hey, I'll still play it if I play with like Nomad or some other people. But yeah, kind of what you said. I think I feel like it's just been destined to, people are going to hate this game no matter what. I think people have already set their minds on this. Either they like it or they don't. And maybe post-launch, if maybe the game actually ends up story-wise being really good, I think some people might change their opinions. But it's either, you know, people like it or they hate it at this point. So
you know what that is when they make up their mind to hate it. They see us getting views. You don't even know if they actually hate it. They just see us getting views, and they're like, you know what? Let me stick with this.
Yeah.
I will say what you just said made me. It gave me a little bit of excitement. I'm like, okay. What I'm looking at from the gameplay, it looks like a 6 or 7. It's not going to blow me away, but I'm hoping there's little sparks in there. It's like, okay, I probably can get through this game.
The game looks great. I will say that the game looks great. It ran fine, like what JG said.
It'd be messed up if the only good part of Suicide Squad was the Batman parts.
Yeah, that would be
like, why not make a Batman game?
That's gonna be the talking point for every YouTube video. You should have just made another Arkham.
yeah. It'll just only reinforce the idea that you guys are only really good at
Batman. I will say, just from a characterization standpoint, the thing they showed in the alpha was like you get to see Flash before he gets like brainwashed by Brainiac, so he's regular self. I think characterization wise, like they nailed him really well. Like he acted like Flash, like not the DCU version, but like the Flash that I remember from like the Justice League animations as a kid. It feels like a lot of them, like even Jon Stewart, the rest of them, like they feel like they're from like they're inspired a lot by the Justice League animated series. You don't see. So basically, what they happens is.
I was about to ask you. Did you feel like he was too fast?
Yeah.
So in the pre-alpha I played, the only thing I saw was there was a tutorial, and then after that, like Flash is he's still a good guy, and he's trying to get Green Lantern to like he's trying to save his friend Green Lantern. Green Lantern's the one who's basically chasing you the entire time and is like trying to grab you the entire time. So he's like the bad guy. I didn't see Superman at all. Batman did his little thing too. Wonder Woman shows up too, but she's not even turned either. She's like one of the last ones standing. It was long. I played. It was like a 4-hour alpha. It wasn't.
Like
it was
a
like
lot of content y'all got.
It had a prologue. It had a tutorial. It let me play segments of the open world. It let me play like 2 to 3 story missions. It let me see the penguin. Like it had a decent. It was like the first 2 to 3 hours of you starting to play the game. I got to see. So I was like, this. When I played, I'm not gonna lie. My expectations were in the river. Like they were bad. It was like I was like. I'm expecting this thing not to run good. I'm expecting this to not feel good. I'm expecting this not to play good. I was like expecting nothing. And I walked away from it like, okay, I'm curious now. I went from not caring to be like, okay, you somewhat have my attention now. So we'll see what happens at launch though. It could be completely bad. And I'll just, but the thing is, I'm not going to freak out about it. If it ends up being like meh, I'm not going to be like, oh, let me make a video and you know, talk shit about it for like 2 hours and you know
Palworld, that's it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be like, oh, back to Palworld I'll go or whatever else. Just move on. Yeah,
because there's only next week. We'll probably still be playing Palworld by next week. So.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, Tekken
mess
too.
up your base.
Oh yeah, it was only Tekken. Yeah.
There's games to play.
Look, at this point, I'm just an Elden Ring waiting room. That's all I am right now. That's all.
Please
that's the main thing I care about.
No, I'm with you. I told my chat the other day, I was like, I ain't gonna hold you. I was like, I look forward to Tekken. And I look forward to Suicide Squad. But if they drop Shadow the Air Tree out of nowhere,
they're all getting dropped.
They're all getting dropped. For Elden Ring, baby. But yeah, I appreciate. Did you get a chance to play the alpha, Gene?
I did not. But I am grateful to hear Jay's and Ethos's like yin yang perspective, because I'm sold on what they both said, because what they both described really makes sense. And I think that's the dichotomy of this game, is that it looks like that it's going to be an interesting experience, and that's what Rocksteady does. They're really good at creating those kind of interesting story experiences, and it's a looter shooter, which I don't want. Ethos, though, it's cool to hear someone speak about Anthem positively, because although I hated that game, there were some good parts to it. Everything you said was absolutely correct. You know, the controls were good, the flying was excellent, the traversal was excellent. I even liked the world a little bit, but yeah.
Everything else,
don't be fooled, Gene.
There wasn't anything to do, man.
He has to compliment Anthem. His name's in the credits. He has to.
Yo, shut up! Your name is in the credits too. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Okay. For my credit, I just want people to know I also, because I'm not gonna let that agenda push. I'm also responsible for the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect. Okay, so I just want to establish that I did do some good.
Jokes aside, to be fair, we were on the consulting team for Anthem. Yeah. They didn't listen to anything we said.
We tried. We tried.
And they still put our name in the game. We was like, why?
Why would you do that to us?
Oh my goodness. That was a good one.
I had an article that said I'm playing Anthem and I want to throw up or something. So bored, you know.
So much potential
I want
lost.
To like the game, but yeah. Anyways.
Good, man.
Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. This is a new 2D platformer action adventure game from Ubisoft. I said in kind of my first impressions video that this is because this game got a lot of backlash when it was first announced, because you're not even playing as the prince, you're playing as Sargon, which, by the way, I forgot to put this on the show notes. He's part of the Killmonger pandemic. This game got a lot of backlash because you're not playing as the prince. But then I made the argument after playing the game. I was like, maybe this isn't the game we wanted, but it's the game we needed. Because low-key, this game is actually very good. And I'm not super into these 2D platformer games anymore. I feel like I played so many as a kid. So in order for one to... I feel like the last one I really enjoyed was Ori and the Blind Forest. Like, you have to really do something to make me... want to try the game out. But I'm actually really enjoying my time with this game, and I think it's because this game has like a lot of heart and soul. Like, Ubisoft put a lot of effort in. The voice acting is really good. The cutscenes, the story it starts off very simple, But then like a couple hours in, there's like a nice plot twist that I did not actually see coming. I was genuinely shocked when I was streaming. I was like, yo, that's when I had that moment. I was like, yo, Ubisoft got one. I just hope people give this game a chance. That's the issue. And then what also surprised me is the combat in this game is actually got some depth to it because he can manipulate time. There's a combo system with air combos. He has different gadgets, a bow and arrow. He has like this boomerang that can use to like juggle people. People are putting together combo videos like it's Devil May Cry. This is one of those games, in my opinion, like if you want to try something different, it's actually really good. And I wouldn't. Parry. Oh, good parry system. I would not be surprised if this ends up on some people's top 10 games at the end of the year, just because it's that good. You spent a little bit of time with it, Gene. What do you think of it?
I did. I got a review code for it. Unfortunately, I also got it at the same time as Like a Dragon Infinite Mouthful, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I did play first couple hours. I was always into it. I was a little disappointed that we're not just called the Prince of Persia, but I like the way it controlled. It reminds me of when Ubisoft used to make good games. And Ubisoft Montpellier, that's the studio that made Rayman Legends, which is like, arguably one of the last really unique and good Ubisoft games, and it reminded me of like Beyond Good and Evil. Honestly, Ubisoft's been cooking recently. The Avatar game is not. I didn't finish it, so I'll say that much. But it's pretty cool. So that's my impression of it. That it's like, oh, I wish that people would give it a chance. But Palworld is taking over everything, so it's just like no one's talking about any other game besides Palworld. Maybe Prince of Persia will be like, maybe it's 2024's Hi-Fi Rush, right? Because people really slept on Hi-Fi Rush. It was in January. I played it. I loved it. I was like, this is easily one of my top 10 games of the year. And so
you made fun of me, TBH, and you made fun of me
because with the Hi-Fi Rush thing.
Yeah, because remember how I played? I was like, "This is game of the year" in January.
Yeah. I mean, it was a fair statement in January, but by the time we got to the end of 2023, it was a ridiculous statement.
I called it. I said, but with the game when I played, I was like, I'm already saying in January, this is already a game of the year contender, and I feel like it definitely got hosed quite a bit. I think I am happy it did get. I am happy it did get some accolades later on in the year. People didn't just completely wipe their minds of it, but
it did. Yeah. And I actually placed it as number 3 on my top 10. Top 10 list.
All right.
The Kingdom, it was just Baldur's Gate 2 or Baldur's Gate 3 and LME 2 that was over it, So
I'd love to hear that.
What's the name? You spent some time with it, Jay. What do you think of Prince?
Yeah, I have to share the same sentiments. Like, Ubisoft got one with this one, and I really hope that since it's super early, how quickly people's minds are fickle, and those early January, February, even March games, get lost in the shuffle when people are, at the end of the year talking about your top 10, top 5 games. I think a lot of people, because I'm not a Prince of Persia fan, like I can't even remember like really playing the early Prince of Persia, and I had no interest in playing in the game, but I ended up getting a code, and I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and try it out. Again, I'm not a 2D roguelike platformer type of person, but once I started getting into it, I was like, okay, same thing TBH said, like this game has, combo system, it's had, different gadgets that, like you do different things, that had special moves. It's difficult, and in GI, we have this tier list going on to see like who's the best gamer. So this this could easily be, especially if you put the difficulty up, it can end up being like a Souls-like, Soulsborne type of game, because it is really difficult. You can hit a couple times and you're pretty much out. So you do have to watch yourself, make sure you're parrying correctly and doing what you can to survive. So I do like that aspect, and I was pleasantly surprised. And again, with our family here, we have a huge love-hate with Ubisoft, even so much that someone got in trouble on this podcast.
I don't know what
we don't know how. About. We don't know exactly how, but my man.
Can you stop?
I ain't gonna say that though, but yeah. So anyway,
oh man,
so we got code. We got to try it out, but we have a long-standing relationship with Ubisoft, so we get to try a lot of their stuff. And again, outside of Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft has had a lot of L's for the past I would say like 5-6 years, depending on who you ask. But every now and then they'll give you a W, and I feel like this is an early one for them. Like I feel like they needed this W, and I just really hope that at the end of the year, when everything is all said and done, that people remember Prince of Persia and be like, see, you didn't play this, you didn't try it out at the beginning of the year, but you should have, because it was a good game.
I feel like a lot of people are gonna dismiss the game just because it's 2D, and like I'm guilty of that myself. But I'm glad I ended up buying it because I had to buy it because it ended up being good. The level design is actually really good in this game.
Really good. Yeah, I know that much.
Yeah, it was genuinely surprising how deep the map actually is. And then the second thing is, unfortunately, although the game is good, I do think a lot of people, like I just said, are going to dismiss it because it's 2D. So what's going to happen to it is it's going to be one of those games that I think catches heat somewhere down the line, where like somebody sees it on Steam sale for like $20 and they'll be like, oh, I heard this game's decent, and they don't have nothing else to play. Then they try it like a year or two later, and they're like, oh, this game's freaking fire. I think it's going to be one of those type of games where it's going to be a slow burn to success. Because like it just kind of released at a weird time. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle when Tekken's coming out. You got Suicide Squad, and then you couldn't even predict Palworld, so it kind of got smashed in between all that, and it's gonna get unfortunately lost in translation. But like I wanted to bring it up on the show to show like, hey, if you want something different, it's really dope. What about you, Ethos?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it when I get eventually the time to play it. So, but that's the
you
gist
got
of it.
time, but you working on Palworld, so yeah,
right.
That's my job, that's a job. I do not have the time right now.
You got the pals work in the fields, man.
Yeah, I gotta work them longer, a little harder, bro. So after that's done, then I'll do it.
all right.
It's so bad because I hear my friends talk about the pals and they say, "What do they got to complain for?" I give them beds.
They got free beds. They got everything. They should be happy. I don't know what they're mad about.
I provide everything for them. They should not.
They might be working 20-hour shifts, but that's just part of the stuff you gotta do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know the next topic we're about to talk about, JG is super excited. Gene, we forgot to tell you before we started recording, but JG is, if you look it up on Bing, he's the #1 ranked Yakuza fan in the world. He's played all Yakuza games with his eyes closed. And you're the first other Yakuza fan that I've met as big as him.
JG, really? Are you serious?
It's on Bing.
I don't
it's
play
on
my
Bing.
eyes closed, but I am known as a simple slave, the Yakuza streamer.
He's known as the Yakuza gamer. So when you said right before we started recording, I actually didn't even have it on the show notes because, to be fair, Gene, the only person who plays it in the group is JG. So I was like, oh, maybe we'll wait till the next one when we got some time. But Gene said he's played the new Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. So you got the floor. I wanted to hear kind of the ins and outs. What do you think of the pros and cons of the game?
Yeah, I love the story. For anyone who's asking if they can play this before Like a Dragon or any other games, I gotta say no. This game is a direct sequel. It starts off, JG knows, but it directly starts off with all the stuff that happened at the end of Part 7. But you don't have to play Yakuza 1, 0 through 6 to understand this. I think you can really, really just start with 7 and go to Infinite Wealth, which is basically Yakuza 8, right? So with the positives, the combat is so much more fun. The combat is turn-based combat, but this time you can actually. But when you go into a turn-based combat, you're just like walking around the streets, right? In the last game, it was all random, so you couldn't control where your party was at. In this game, you can there's a circle of movement, so you can move around, and then when you do an AOE attack, you can actually aim the AOE attack to make it hit like rows of people or certain groups of people. Or if you have an AOE like area of effect heal, then you can like move your character in between like two characters, and boom, it's a full party heal. So it's like a lot of strategy, a lot of fun, very, very engaging, like right off the bat. This one means a lot to me because it takes place in Hawaii, and I lived in Hawaii for 8 years, from 2006 to 2015. Like 8-9 years. So and the Yakuza games, JJ, I don't know if I'm a bigger fan than you. You actually sound like you might be a bigger fan than me, but I've been playing since 2005, since day one. So like this whole series means so much to me. So the fact that this series is now in Hawaii over my life, over my past life, is crazy. So I'm walking around Honolulu, Hawaii, and they literally have my whole life. The map literally starts from my ex-girlfriend's swimwear boutique at Waikiki, at the Marriott at the end of Waikiki, all the way to my old apartment building in River Street in Chinatown downtown. Like literally from my ex-girlfriend's place to my old place. That's where Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth takes place. They got the old strip club that I used to go to. It's called Club Guilty now, not Club Roxa. They recreate Ala Moana Shopping Center, which is the largest open-air shopping mall in America. And you could just go there and have fantasy turn-based action in the parking lot where I used to just hang out and smoke weed all the time. You know,
I love how this man just casually just mentioned, yeah, we was dropping bands at the strip club.
My favorite strip club.
I tell you, man.
Because I lived a crazy life in Hawaii, right? So like, so when you go to like the docks and like the docks have high level enemies, that's because that is literally in real life. That is where I bought cocaine from the Mexican cartel in the harbor, Honolulu Harbor.
Oh no!
You know? So when I went there, there were Mexicans there, and they were level 40, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
You think that was intentional? Like, yo, they did their research.
They did their research.
They did the research. And I was like, "What the hell? That's crazy."
That's funny, man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, and the thing is that the Yakuza series has always been like really like. I've always like felt really drawn to it because you know they always depict the Japanese culture, right? Mm-hmm. And there was all the mini games about hostess clubs. The JG knows, but to explain what hostess clubs is, you guys know what hostess clubs is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to explain to you guys and to the reader, hostess clubs is a bar where there's a bunch of beautiful women who are dressed in beautiful evening gowns and jewelry and everything like that, and then the men go there, and then you buy them drinks for about $20 a pop. And they will sit down with you and flirt with you and give you nice compliments.
Oh, like Rush Hour.
With you.
Like Rush Hour, the movie?
Oh, was that a Rush? Oh,
yeah,
Rush. Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, where it was like all the women. Yeah,
all the women. They
came
were
out. He
sitting
was
there.
like, oh,
Yep, just lined up.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very sort of thing. Yeah,
that is exactly what happens at host clubs. They all line up, and you get to choose who you want to just hang with for the night. So because my dad used to take me to those places all the time. So when I saw them in Yakuza, I was like, holy crap, this is just like my life right here. So now
that's like me for real.
Now that it's in Hawaii, this is like for real my life. You know, it's crazy. What else? The way they talk about Hawaii is crazy because they really did their research. Like they talk about like the local economy. They talk about the homelessness problem. How Honolulu has the highest homelessness population in America. How a lot of homeless fly over from California to Hawaii just to be homeless in Hawaii because if you want to be homeless anywhere, you know the weather's perfect in Hawaii. You know, you just stay out there. It's fine. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The story is great. There's so many dude, the amount of games that are in this game are ridiculous. Not only do they have like old Sega games, because every Yakuza game usually has an arcade, and you can play Virtua Fighter or Sonic Fighters. This one has Sega Bass Fishing. This one has Spike Out. All these weird games. But on top of that, this game has a crazy taxi game where you pretend to be an Uber Eats driver on a bicycle. But the game is basically Crazy Taxi, like in Hawaii. There is a roguelike dungeon game where there's procedural dungeons that you go through and you get the best gear in that dungeon. And the dungeon helped me like really level up. There is what else? There's a full-on Animal Crossing game where you go to a secret Hawaiian island where all these old Japanese mascots that are retired from Japan like escaped to Hawaii. And then so now they're there, and the island is all trashy. So you go around, pick it up, and then the game literally becomes Animal Crossing, where you're building furniture and houses and everything. I couldn't even play that part of the game because that game was too deep. That's a whole other game inside the game, you know.
It sounds like it's super content rich, and also sounds like this game for you is what a lot of people, when they look at GTA 5 when they're from like LA, like you got that same vibe, like, oh, I remember this, and the third. What's this doing for you, Jay? Like hearing all this, just knowing you're about to play
it's making me more excited. I mean, I already knew because I played the demo, but like since you actually got to play the full game, so you got to really deep dive into it.
Jay, if you got these questions, let me hit me with them.
Yeah, no, I'll be hopping into the game tomorrow, most likely. So, in doing a deep dive on that. But yeah, shout out to you for at least telling the people, because this is literally the number one question I get every time I play Yakuza. Can I start right now? Like, can I play the game you're playing right now? And I'm literally just off of playing the man who erased his name. So I got finished with that, and now I'm all caught up as to why Kiryu's in Hawaii and da. So. So like I'm super into it, and unlike you're definitely a bigger fan of me because you started playing in 2005. I started playing in 2016, 2017 after playing the Yakuza 6 demo, which wasn't a demo because Sega mistakenly put the whole game on PlayStation Plus.
I was unaware of that.
Stop that. That was crazy.
Yeah, I found out afterwards. I played for 2 hours and I got to chapter 2. I said, "What the heck?" I said, "I think I'm playing a full game, chat." And then as soon as I did it, then they disabled. They took it off. I was like, "Oh man!" And then my chat was like, "You know what?" It was like, "I think you like this game. You should play Yakuza 0 and play from 0 to 6." I said, "You know what? I'm bored. I don't have anything else to play. I'm gonna do it." And after that, I became a huge Yakuza fan. And then that's how the title began. So yeah, so I started literally from 0 and just made my way up and played every single one, even Like a Dragon, Judgment, Lost Judgment, everything.
I'm actually writing a story on Like a Dragon. Can I interview like right now live? Can we have a Washington Post interview live right now?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
How did you feel when you played Yakuza 0? Because Yakuza 0 is your first game you played, right?
Yeah, Yakuza 0 is my favorite.
What was it about that locked you in like right away? You know,
I like the fact that like I just got instantly drawn into the characters, right? Like Kiryu, like seeing him from the very beginning, seeing like Gordo, like everybody knows like if you play any Yakuza, like you know how crazy Majima is now. Like it just. Like I just want to fight you, Kiryu. Like he's that type of person. But like seeing him in like his quote unquote humble beginnings, like really got me into it. And then I like the fact that like Goro, he had all of these different fight styles. Like the capoeira was like one of my favorite fight styles that he had. I just like enjoyed the combat more now with the fact that you got to play as 2 different characters and they had their own different fight styles, but within the different characters who have their different fight styles, and they have even more fight styles that they can go into. So I think that's what instantly gravitated me towards like wanting to see what else was in the other Yakuzas, because I mean if you're at that point, it was 6 Yakuzas out, well technically 7 because you count 0, so technically 7 Yakuzas out. And then, you bring Like a Dragon, which was turn-based, and I was like, I don't know about that, right? Like, I don't know about the turn-based of Like a Dragon, but it worked. Like, I didn't feel like I was out of my element just because, it wasn't the traditional, beat 'em up, type of style. So, and then the story, like, again, Yakuza is all about the story at the end of the day. Like, I know some people try to compare it to like a Metal Gear Solid or a Final Fantasy, and yeah, it can kind of get like that because some of the cutscenes can be super long and drawn out. But just thinking about like starting with 0, like Kiryu and Majima, how they just made their way up in the ranks of the Tojo clan, and then you dive into 1 and 2 and you're seeing these other groups come in and try to take over, and seeing the clash between the Tojo clan and Kiryu's rise to being a captain and a patriarch, and then even taking the fall for people, going to jail, and his first love interest, and taking care of this kid who now has no mother. Like it's just so many different elements in Yakuza, and I think that's what really got me hooked, because it's like ridiculousness. Like it's real, but there are so many ridiculous moments in every Yakuza game, and I think that's what really like drove me to continue wanting to play every single one from starting from 0 all the way up until now.
Love it. Yeah. Interview over. That's a great answer.
Awesome. We had a big Yakuza powwow. I'm glad that Jay finally has somebody to talk to about that.
I know, right? Like, Ethos. I give it to Ethos. He did play Judgment.
I did
play Judgment. So
I give good. Judgment.
He got me on Judgment because I'm like a big. I was like a big like anime Death Note fan, and he was like, "Oh, it's kind of like a little bit. It has a detective thing, like Death Note type of thing." He's like, "So you should check it out." And I was like, "You like detective stuff?" And I liked LA Noire, so he was like, "Yeah, give it a shot." So I tried it. I beat it all on. It was weird. I beat it all on PlayStation. No, I beat it on Xbox, and then I got the sequel I still have to play, but it was on sale for PlayStation 5. So I have the sequel on PlayStation 5. So I'm going to play through that one. I wish I had known because it was before they announced they were coming to PC. So I thought I was only going to be able to play console. But now I'm like, oh, God, I could have played on PC now. So, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I agree. Like, I know they're very similar. I actually did play some of 0. I just never finished it. Not because it was bad or anything. There's just a lot of games that were coming out, and I just didn't have time to finish it. But I enjoyed it. I agree with JG, at least from what I perceived from 0. I did like how over the top it was. I loved like the characterization of it. I love the fighting style of it. I don't mind, turn based. So I've been thinking for a while to go and try Infinite Wealth because it was on Game Pass. So I was like, all right, one day I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play Infinite Wealth. And since this new one, I think it's the highest.
Sorry, Infinite Wealth is the new one.
Infinite Wealth is
the original Like a Dragon. Original Like a Dragon was on Game Pass.
Right, that was the one that they went to turn based, right?
Yeah, this is the first turn. Yeah, the original Like a Dragon is the first turn based, and then Infinite Wealth is the sequel.
Just to make sure I understand, so the just make sure reviewers and how they try the whole marketing with the new one. This one, the Like a Dragon, I could actually play that one without playing the other ones, and I still can understand what's going on a little bit. Or
yes.
Okay.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, the one that came out on Game Pass in 2019.
Yeah,
you can start there.
Okay.
Totally.
And I'll still be good because I do know some of the stuff from Zero.
You're absolutely good for Infinite Wealth.
Okay.
You probably don't need 0 to 6.
Okay.
The only problem with Infinite Wealth, though, is that, and JG, you would notice, is that it focuses a lot on Kiryu, who is the main character of 0 to 6.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
Like a large chunk of the game is about him and about his life. It references every single game in the series, including the spin-offs.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's a little crazy, but I think you can still start with 7 and you can still be good. So
gotcha.
Yeah. I believe y'all when y'all say these games are good. I look at the gameplay, it looks great, but I'm not gonna lie, this entire conversation sounds like the gaming version of One Piece to me. Like I just can't keep up. Like it's just too
anime. It's anime. It's very much anime. Yeah.
It's like I'm already behind. I give up, bro. I'll watch JG play it.
Yeah.
At least they have dubs now, because that was one thing that they didn't have. So starting with Like a Dragon, and then obviously the Judgment series, like they have actual English voice acting now. So I know that was another thing that kind of turned TBH off. Be like, I don't want to read these subtitles, but I just kind of got used to it. But now, like I'll play it in English, just because it's available for me.
Yeah, I would play it in English, but I'm just too used to these guys in Japanese. So I tried to do it, but like Yongye's voices, because Yongye is Kiryu. But I've been watching Yongye, the YouTuber, for like years and years and years. Like,
so you can't break it. Yeah, your brain won't let you.
I can't get out of that mindset. Like, I think he's doing a good job. I think he's fine. I think the hate on him is overreaction. But I still can't get over the fact that you are Yongye and your voice is coming out of probably my favorite character in video games. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Hearing Kiryu like in the man who erased his name in English was a little bit weird. It was a little bit weird. I was like, but I just dealt with it.
I think you can get used to it though, for sure.
Yeah,
it's fine.
This was fun. I'm excited.
T-Pain is streaming the game right now.
I want to see JG play.
They're throwing a lot of money out for the celebrities, which I'm not mad at. I understand why, but
yeah,
it was
Drewski for the commercial.
Yeah, Drewski.
They tired of it being more niche. They ready to go mainstream.
Yeah, they wanted to go mainstream.
Yeah. I was like, why you wait so long though? You could have did that with the original Like a Dragon.
That's what I was saying. I was like, why is it this one where like you need to play the first one, the previous one?
Weird choice.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like it'd be like marketing all this for like Mass Effect 3 or Mass Effect 2. It'd be like, you should know this for the first one before you hopped over to these two, because I'm gonna confuse people. But yeah, I get it.
That's how well Like a Dragon did. It did well enough that they're like, okay, well maybe we can level up with this.
We'll care. Sega's like, okay, we'll give a crap now.
Again, they gave it a chance with the turn based, and like I said, I was like, I don't want to play that, but it ended up working, and they introduced another character, so I think that was that was the main reason. But like when I remember when the Man Who Erased His Name came out, RTG and Sega was like, oh yeah, you could play this one. I'm like, no, you cannot. If you haven't played them, you could. No, you cannot. Stop lying to them. Please. I understand I understand what you're trying to do, but no, you cannot. You're not going to understand anything about this. That's hilarious.
Because they don't want to scare people out like TBH who are intimidated by the One Piece size of this one, right?
Yeah,
but
that's what it is.
You can get it, and then if you get one guy to buy like 9 different games, then that could be dope too, So
they got me. So I'm here now.
It could be one of those games where like I try one and be like, you know what, I do like. It could be like JG, but it's like you got to. It's just hard getting me on that one because I'm just honestly, like I'm already overwhelmed.
Just start at 0. They made 0 the perfect starting point. Like you can start at 0 and never play another one. You'll be good.
Yeah, that's what I felt.
Is that on Game Pass? Is that on Game Pass?
It was.
I know they were at one point. I think all the Yakuza at one point.
I can't check.
All of them were on Game Pass at one point. So
yeah,
it's called Yakuza 0, right?
Yakuza 0.
Yep.
Yeah. Literally just start with that one. You don't even have to play another one. That could be the only one you play, and then you would get the entire series. You would understand the entire series just in Yakuza 0.
Okay. And what year did that one come out?
Yes, it's on
2000s?
Game Pass.
2016, so pretty recent.
All of them are there.
Okay.
Yakuza 0 was the real explosion in the West, where people are like, okay, well maybe that can start with this one, and they actually started with this one, and they're like, oh shit, this series is fire, you know?
Yeah, like it wasn't the first one. It ended up being the Yakuza 0 is essentially the prequel to 1 and, you know, the actual start of the Yakuza series.
Yeah, and the 1 is a 2005 PS2 game, so even the remake is a little like not great because it still has like a quest design of a PS2 game in 2005, you know?
For sure. Okay.
So that's why 0 is definitely like the best one. Like 0 or 7, but I think 0 is the easy, right?
This guy knows. I like him. I like it right there.
Infinite Wealth. Check it out. Let's talk some.
Check out my Twitch stream on twitch.tv/Gene Park. I'm gonna be streaming Infinite Wealth. I'm gonna tell you if you want to hear more stories about me selling cocaine in Honolulu Harbor.
Allegedly.
Yeah, we cannot be
allegedly to myself. If I bought cocaine in Honolulu Harbor, you can hear about all those stories. 9/11 Saturday, where I give you a tour around Hawaii, and I basically tell you about like how they got it right and what my life was like in Hawaii. You know, so check it out.
His link to his Twitch will be in the description box below. Let's pivot into some of the latest news since the last podcast. Xbox held a developer direct where they revealed a lot of different things. A couple big things we got to see. We got a first look at some of the Avowed gameplay. This is the new RPG from Obsidian. And then the other one that almost broke the internet that day was Bethesda revealed their new Indiana Jones game that's being developed by Machine Games, I believe. And then we also got to look at Hellblade 2, some other stuff. Is there anything here, the direct, that kind of stood out to you, Ethos?
Avowed. I've been a fan of Obsidian. I like their last game. The box art for it, the key art is beautiful. That is one of the most
amazing.
Whoever did that, whoever did that with the fungus and stuff, like whoever did that, give that person a raise immediately. Yeah, they did an incredible job with it. It definitely catches your attention. If that was on a wall of games of Xbox games, I had to pick one, that would immediately catch my eye. That one was really cool. I'm not a big Indiana Jones fan, but I was I'll give it a shot. Machine Games, I like the Wolfenstein games, so I was I'll definitely give that game a shot. Hellblade, that's the big one. I loved the first one, so to finally them setting a date and be here's what it looks like, here's how it plays, showing us a lot more and be all right, it's real and it's coming and we're almost done with it. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
We have been waiting.
Yeah. And I've always me and JG both play it. We're still waiting for this dude down here to play it. TBH, but I love that game. It's one of my favorite games. And was there anything else? It was a minute. Was there anything else that I'm not?
That was the three big. They also showed was there a new something of Mana? It looked alright.
Visions of Mana.
Yeah, it was the four big ones.
Yeah, but that's the three things that I think I was I'm pretty excited to see some of these games come out.
Listen, man, I don't want to play a crazy person, okay? I don't want to be crazy in real life. I don't want to be crazy in a game. But I believe y'all when y'all say it's good. And then y'all make fun of it.
Man, you missing out. Come on, you the puzzle king, bro.
Yeah,
you gotta figure it out. I want to see you play it.
I don't want to walk around with my brain rattling, man.
Hellblade, yeah.
Avowed looked interesting to me. I love a good choose your own adventure, so I like that aspect of the game, but I'm still not 100% sold on the gameplay. It looks Skyrim-y, and I know I'm going to piss off the Skyrim fans, but I'm not a big Skyrim fan. I just don't like the first person.
How dare you?
It is what it is. I need to see more of the gameplay to be completely sold, so I'm kind of halfway, 1 foot in on that. And then the Indiana Jones I thought the graphics looked really good in this, but
they're amazing.
And the animations were a little janky to me. When he was using the whip, it didn't feel like it had a weird, a good flow to it. And then I wish it would have been in third person. I don't like the first person.
I was literally about to say that. I wish it was.
Because it looked really good when he was climbing the thing in third person. And I'm why didn't they just make the whole game like that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you there. And everyone will always defend. Well, let Machine Games do what they're good at, though. Let them be good at. You know what? Why can't people learn new things? You know?
That's why that's why Respawn is one of the goats to me.
I'll say, who also did that? They let BioWare do something different, that way. So
we just talked about it. Oh.
Why can't you learn new things and be good at it?
You let BioWare try to that didn't work out.
Correct that statement. Be good at it.
Be good at it is the key.
Yeah. Don't do Anthem, please.
Yeah.
What's the name? What did you think about the showcase, Jay?
I say it was cool. Like I say it didn't really, show that much, but like I said, the thing I'm most excited about was getting a release date for Hellblade. Because again, I felt like we've been seeing this every single Microsoft showcase for at least a good 3-4 years now, and all I wanted was a freaking release date. So I'm super happy about it. Hopefully, it doesn't get delayed again. But this was one of my, most anticipated. So now I can, officially put that on the list this year as one of my most anticipated of 2024.
Okay. And what about you, Gene?
Avowed only because of the pedigree of the, I'm an Obsidian fan too. I'm with you that the game doesn't look that interesting, so it's just gonna have to wait until. Only reason why I'm interested in because it's Obsidian, right?
I love the Outer Worlds. They get the benefit of the doubt. That's really what it is.
Exactly. That's literally it. And then the art is creative, so it's like okay, they might I trust them. I'm sure they'll be fine. Visions of Mana look great, but it's just Square Enix. And yeah, Indiana Jones. It looks fun. I love machine games. I love Wolfenstein, and I love their old games, The Darkness and Chronicles of Riddick for the original Xbox and Xbox 360. I love those games. So I do know that they're excellent at first-person games, but yeah, like it's crazy to spend that much money on the Harrison Ford image, just not be able to use it.
Basically, yeah.
I just like that the show was actually really short and to the point. I feel like there wasn't a lot of dead air and like.
Oh, the show was expensive too. Like the production, like the cameras they use are crazy. It's like oh, that's where all your money is going, Microsoft, not to the people.
I like these direct shows, short and to the.
Oh man, we gonna get on that. We gonna get on there.
Oh my god!
I caught it immediately.
I had to register. I'm like, all right, bro. This guy's
speaking of.
We're over here laughing. Now I'm about to pivot to a damn sad story, dog.
I'm just giving you a segue, man. I'm just giving you a segue.
What's going on in the industry? I feel like you're the most qualified to talk about this one, Gene. It has been, especially in the last week, there's been a lot of layoffs. Just this morning, Microsoft laid off 1,900 employees. But what I read, they specifically laid off the entire department responsible for physical games. And then I think Riot Games earlier in the week, they laid off like 500 plus people. And then I've seen a bunch of smaller studios as well. And I think everybody's just kind of looking around like, what's going on? We're breaking record profits right now and people are being let go. Do you have any insight on any of these companies or what's going on in the community?
Well, so my buddy Matthew Ball, who's an analyst, wrote a really good paper earlier this week, and he breaks it down really well. But I'll read it out to you. But the thing is that the video game industry is not having record profits. It's actually only so. In nominal terms, U.S. consumer spend on video games, including software, hardware, and accessories across all platforms, and not including Web3 and NFTs, was $57.2 billion in 2023, up only 1.1% over 2022, and fallen 5% from 2021. So the game industry is not bigger. Even though we had a lot of games, that the money is not flowing in, people are spending less.
You think plateau would be a better word?
It might be a plateau. We keep hearing about subscribers numbers not going up either. We see that consoles can't seem to break 150 million sales. The Switch isn't going to hit the PS2 high, but when is anything else ever going to do that too, right? Yeah, and then that on top of the fact that games are expensive. You know which studios aren't laying people off? The ones that don't have hair follicles on their chin, and are doing all that stuff to make sure that we can see like every single pore on people's skin. That's what's happening. But consumers don't want that. Consumers want like high grade graphics too. If God of War 3 or God of War 2025 look worse than God of War Ragnarok, people will be so mad. But that's what they would probably need to do if they wanted to make God of War like really, really successful and really, really profitable. That's why Nintendo is so profitable, because all their games are so cheap to make.
Yeah, that's their whole motto. Like even when they launch like a new piece of hardware, it's already underpowered, but that's to keep the cost of development low.
It's already turning a profit. Every PlayStation, every Xbox that sells is sold at a loss, but a Switch, every Switch sold is sold at a profit.
Yeah, I see. I've seen a lot of people make the argument because they're shifting leadership at Microsoft. That's one of the reasons why anytime new leadership comes in, they usually clean house. And I'm like, maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't have any insight on that. But I think the more disturbing thing for me was the Riot one, because and they had said something along the lines on Twitter about, oh, we don't really know our direction of the company. I'm like paraphrasing on that, and I'm like, what does that mean? Because you guys got Project L coming out. I thought Valorant was successful, and then they let go of 500 people. I'm looking forward to Project L. I'm like, what's going on? Is this game not coming out? Like, it didn't instill any confidence into me, and I feel like that quote kind of got lost in translation.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff with Riot is effectively the way I perceive it. This is just from being an actual like a Riot gamer for over a decade. I've played a lot of their games. Valorant was actually they're very successful. Like it was their like they were able to hit lightning twice with that after making League. They needed another game that could hit another marketplace and explode. And Valorant, I don't think Valorant's going anywhere. They basically what they had done was, which I don't know, Gene, you probably agree to this too, is you remember during the pandemic, basically everyone was locked inside. So everybody was spending a bunch of money because they were just like, well, I can't go outside and do anything. So I'll buy video games. And that's when like, those 2 years was like 2020, 2021, 2022. Like there was an explosion in the profits of like, money that people were just getting because people were just buying a bunch of stuff and staying indoors.
That's why 2020, that's why we dropped 2021 5% because
exactly. It's kind of crazy. It's like they didn't think this ahead of time. Like, well, obviously this pandemic isn't going to last forever. So why would you hire on more people during that time when you kind of knew like eventually this would go back to normal? I don't know. That's kind of insane to me, but
it sounds stupid, but we did the exact same thing at the Washington Post, bro.
So you would just hire a bunch of people and you're just like, we need these people
that's
now.
That's why we lost 240 people last month. Yeah. We overhired like crazy.
Yeah.
And then our executives got way too horny. Mm-hmm. And they thought that they could just give out jobs and anything, and then
you get a job. Yeah, everyone gets
set people up for failure.
Like Oprah or whatever.
You're setting them up for failure. Don't get me wrong. Like I remember in the tech section, like during the pandemic, it was a huge that was a huge push. A lot of people were like, get in the tech field now. There's so many entry jobs coming out right now. It's a big time to do this, and it was true at the time. Like you could get crazy positionings, try new job positions and stuff like that because they were just. I remember at my old place, like we were just out the wazoo. We had like 6 tickets open of just like trying to get people on my team specifically and others of that. And that was just because, there was a pandemic and they didn't have to pay money for the physical location of keeping those open because everybody was remote at the time. And then, now things have started to shift over. I'm happy to see that at least some studios have been able to maintain the remote space because I think it's very unattainable to hire people, especially in the gaming industry, and then ship them over to like the different part of the country that has a high cost of living, then just to fire them a year or 2 years later. That seems like kind of really like messed up in my mind. But the thing about Riot, which is the main thing, is that they really don't have a direction in the idea that they know that at the end of the day, they really can't go broke because at the end of the day, League of Legends is their bread and butter. They're always going to make boatloads of money off of League, and Valor makes them boatloads of money. But what they've been doing with all that boatload of money, they've been trying to like hit other markets and say like with Valorant, like right now we'll hit the fighting game market, which is Project L. Now we'll hit the card game market, which is Legend of Runeterra. So they were trying to target other areas. We'll hit the mobile market with League of Legends Wild Rift. So they want to basically make League Riot so massive that every single genre in gaming, they want to basically be the marketplace or be the top dog in that marketplace. They've already dominated that. They've already, I'd argue, Valorant's like probably one of the top shooters right now, so they dominate that area. Runeterra ended up not being as big as that because I feel like the trading card game space is already dominated mostly by Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! At this point. I feel like it's very hard to get shares out of that at this point. And Hearthstone basically owns what little bit is left. And then so the only things they have left is, of course, fighting game. I think there's still some space there. So I think that Project L, I think, is going to be fine. I honestly, I'd be shocked if Project L ends up becoming irrelevant in a year. I feel like it's going to anchor itself down. The other thing that I think might be dead is I know Riot was working on that MMO. I think that might be dead now because that's been something that they've kept very quiet.
I know
for the past
Activision shelved some survival game.
Blizzard got shelved something, and I feel like Riot they didn't say that in their press release, but I feel like privately in the back because they had never publicly announced that the MMO was going to come out at a certain time. They just announced that we're experimenting with some sort of MMO. That costs a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of talent to make an MMO. So I feel like that quietly went to the back and they cut it and they said that's it. So that's kind of like where I think Riot is. They're just like, we know for a fact I feel like a lot of companies are like, we need to go back to the bread and butter of what we know makes us a lot of money until, we start to see a growth pattern again. So
got too horny, right?
Yeah,
got too horny.
I think definitely Riot was doing a lot. Like, this isn't on top of, don't forget too, they're doing Arcane, which was a massive success.
Yeah.
So they're working on Arcane too. That's another like site that's not even a game. That's like a money basically funnel that's going towards that.
That costs a lot of money because
that is a very expensive project to make.
I know because I was at the premiere at Netflix.
You told me,
and the dude, this is funny, G. The dude, we're talking at the party, and one of the dudes who worked on the show, one of the executives, Riot, he was drunk. He just comes up to me and he goes, so he's like, do you want to know how much Arcane costs? And I honestly didn't care. I was just like, okay, you gotta play the game, you know. you gotta like sure. Super LA shit, bro. He's like, you wanna know how much it costs? I was like, sure. $100 million. I was like, I swear to God, I said, wow.
Wow.
I mean, what can you say?
What is that supposed to do for me? He thought I was supposed to be so impressed by that shit. So Ethos is correct. That show is expensive because he's like, don't tell anybody. I just did. Too late.
Yeah.
That's coming out. You listen to how horny he sounded, man. These people are fucking horny for power and money, you know?
Yeah. And you know what I hate most about this situation is just kind of the inhumanity of it all. Like I seen what the Bethesda PR person, I follow her. Like I watched her when she got hired by Bethesda. And like she was like
Devin.
Yeah, she was like kind of crying on the timeline. Just seeing that stuff.
I was sad about that, man.
Yeah, like you could feel that tweet, like damn. And like, I mean, they did the same shit when I worked at G4. Like they just locked people out of the fucking Slack, man. Like it's like at least
you were before. I totally forgot.
At least like, you know, pull people in, be like, hey, this is the situation. Like treat people like they. Even in the gaming community, it goes to show you, like this is why going back to that Pokemon Palworld conversation. I gotta stop kissing these corporations' asses, man. They treat you like numbers, man. This shit is just.
They are not good people. The thing is, because I was at my old company, I was part of the cybersecurity section for it, and the reason they do that, it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the most inhumane thing in the world. And every person I talk to, whenever like layoffs happen or if someone gets fired, it makes you feel almost like you're not worth anything. Yeah. And the reason they do that is because they. Not only do they protect their interests, but they don't know how you are going to react to being fired or laid off, and that you might emotionally have like. That's why a lot of times it just, you know, you're just minding your own business. You don't even know what's going to happen to you, and all of a sudden it's as if you get struck with lightning, and you're just like, whoa, what happened? You wake up out of a coma. It's because they don't know how you're going to react to you getting laid off and fired. Because then it could be, oh, you can't do this to me. I put my blood, sweat into. You're not going to do this to me. And then, you know, you run off with company secrets, or you run off with property that belongs to them. That's why they like lock you out of the stuff. So then you can't quickly grab something before you know, on your way out. Go for the jugular,
basically.
Yeah. So they basically cut them off, cut the head off immediately before they do it to you. And it sucks. Tell me right. Like it feels terrible. And it's like, I've worked for you for over like 5 years. I've worked for you for over a decade. Like you really think I would do that? And they just don't care. It's a really inhumane. It's fucked up.
Any takes on this, Jay?
Like I said, you know, I'm close to this since, you know, I'm a manager and I had to, like, I'm in the tech industry and I had to deal with a rift last year and I had to get rid of somebody. We ended up getting him back just because I think once everything was said and done, my job finally realized, hey, you don't have the resources to actually handle people's problems. So it's like, all right, well, either you're going to complain about it and wait, or you're going to hire somebody, you know, hire some more people on my team so that I can, you know, I can better handle everyone's issue that they have. And my wife, she had 2 jobs in the tech sector. One, she got let go while she was overseas at a convention working for them. And the second time, she got let go right before we were about to go on vacation, and they put her and a whole bunch of other people just in a call and with HR, and they're like, okay, you're all going. And my wife was like, well, what the heck? Why didn't you talk to me, you know, personally? Why did you put us all in here? So it's going back to what Ethos said, like, you know, even though she was remote, you know, you never know what somebody's going to do. You know, when they find out. And luckily, you know, obviously my wife not like that, but she was upset. She was like, well, why is this happening?
Everyone's upset. Yeah.
Well, you know, you're not just gonna be like, okay, like, but I think the one thing, you know, just going back to my wife, like she saw the writing on the wall like early. So she was like, all right, I'm just going to go looking. And I feel like that's what a lot of other people need to do, especially now. Like, you know, we're talking about video games, obviously in the video game industry, because that's what this podcast is focused on. But this is happening everywhere. It's literally happening everywhere. No industry is safe. Only if you are an essential worker, you know, you can pretty much be like, okay, like my job is safe because you need me. Like you need doctors, you need nurses, you need people at grocery stores, stuff like that. So like those, you know, particular sector, you know, of our industries are safe, you know, for the most part. But every other industry is not safe, unfortunately, and I'm hoping that one day, hopefully soon, we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. But just talking about the video game industry, because like I said, it's so close to the tech industry, like it really sucks that that all these industries did this and overhired in every single sector, made up positions that weren't there at first just to get the manpower. I get it, it was a need back then, but just to have everything come crashing down like massively, like you're not only having certain industries letting go of a certain amount of people, but some industries have done it twice in 1 year. I'm like, damn, like it's pretty crazy. Like you let go of 200 people at second quarter, then in fourth quarter comes, you let go another 400 people. I'm like, dang, I would rather you at this point to let everybody go at once, rather than do it twice, because then you're in the headlines multiple times and people are really starting to question, is that a good place to work? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have any workers, these industries will crumble. So it just really sucks to hear this. But on the outside, from the outside looking in, this is what we're thinking. But on the inside, they're talking. They're like, all right, well, we don't need any of these people now, or they're not doing anything. I've also heard that too, that it's some jobs, you had them do certain things, and then now that those projects are over and now they're not doing anything but collecting a paycheck. So I understand that part as well, and as a business you have to let those go, you have to cut the fat, but it still sucks because that was a person's income, and who knows if they had anything else going on, and that's really the thing. And how are they going to transition and either go somewhere else into the same industry or pivot to another industry? And going back to my wife ended up choosing another industry because she worked in sales for a hotel, and then she was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to events and marketing and stuff. So people had to literally choose entirely different industries. So it's going to be interesting, but also sad at the same time to see what someone who may not have the skills in another area, what they're going to do when this may have been all that they were doing their entire lives, and now either they can't find a job in that same industry, or they're hesitant to try to get another job in the same industry, working for another corporation because of the fear of getting fired again. So it sucks all around.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to say about this one other than keep your head up. Hopefully things improve. It sucks to see. Hopefully 2024 will improve for some people.
I have. That's not going to be the case, man.
Not according to this article. Worse. Yeah, it says article is going to be closed.
Yeah, I did.
That article that by GameIndustry.biz or whatever is right. There are more layoffs coming. It's going to be worse in 2024 than it was in 2023. I guarantee you. It's going to happen.
I would say just
one of my favorite companies is going to be laying people off in a couple months. It sucks.
Oh man, yeah. Sports Illustrated, again, anotort industry. They let go of the entire Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated is just gone. They're gone. It's not even just let go of people. They let go of that. Sports Illustrated is good.
LA Times, the Los Angeles Times. It used to be my dream job to work at. I always wanted to live in LA and work at LA and work at LA Times. They just got rid of a third of their staff.
You're just saying this stuff. You're like, damn, how are these industries even going to survive? Because it seemed like a huge number. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know how many people are working, at these industries, at these corporations. But when you hear the news, on the outside looking in, you're like, damn, that's a lot of people. How are you still even able to operate?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this one plays out. It sounds like we're in for some turbulence. Like I was gonna say is keep your head up, man. Let's see. Other stories I got for you guys. This is an interesting one. This one actually got a lot of engagement. We posted this to our Twitter. I was surprised it got so much engagement because Dragon's Dogma is a pretty hardcore game with a cult-like following. I wouldn't say it's a mainstream game, but I do feel like Dragon's Dogma 2 is starting to get a little excitement around it because I think the fans of the original have really hyped it up. So the director of the game recently did an interview where he was talking about fast traveling. And he said that if your game needs fast traveling, it's boring. Here's the actual quote. He said, just give it a try. Traveling is boring. That's not true. It's only an issue because your game is boring. All you have to do is make traveling fun. That's why you place things in the right location for players to discover, or come up with enemy appearance methods that create different experiences each time, or force players to blind situations where they don't know whether it's safe or not 10 meters in front of them. He was like, yo, y'all games suck. That's what it's like to me. Gene, how do you feel about this quote? Do you agree? If your game needs fast travel, it sucks?
I think if your game needs fast travel, it's boring is a wrong thing to say, but he's right about, filling things in between or making fast travel fun. He could have just said that without putting down other games, or saying that it's boring, because it's not. Here's what I'll say. We just talked about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, right? That game has fast travel. If that game did not have fast travel, I'd be random battling back and forth all throughout Hawaii, because you're running all around Hawaii the whole time, and you're doing all these random battles, and you can't avoid a lot of these, right? If I had to do that for the whole game for the 70 hours that I played, well, the game would probably be 90 hours. And there's a very, very real risk that even though I like the game that much, I might get bored, or I might get too tired or burned out, that I would stop and I just never come back to that game again. But I will never call Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth boring. It's a fantastic game. It's a fun game. But I do think fast travel will help you in terms of, just alleviating certain things. So, I mean, it's just really up to the developer to figure out, is my game fun enough to go through all of that stuff? I don't think... sometimes not really, imagine if you play Skyrim. You didn't, TBH, you don't like Skyrim. Imagine if Skyrim didn't have fast travel, how much more you would hate it, right?
Yeah, I say I understand where he's coming from, but I don't agree with it. I would say your game probably...
Also, real quick, Dragon's Dogma hates fast travel. It had limited fast travel in part 1. That pissed everyone off.
Everybody got mad about it. Yeah, everybody said, "Why is there no fast travel?" Yeah.
Yeah. So they added like 5 more, 9 more, like teleport stones in the Dark Risen the thing. So he really hates fast travel. So I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I understand where he's coming from, but I'll say this. If your game needs fast travel right at the beginning, it probably is boring. But that being said, where I disagree with his statement is, even if it is a fun world to explore, at least for me personally, I can't speak for everybody else, there always comes a certain point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm ready to beat the game. And an example I'm going to use is Elden Ring. I put about 100 hours into that game. About 100, I enjoyed exploring. He's right. It had great level design. I enjoyed exploring it, but I looked at that playtime. I was like, I'm ready to move on. I was like, fast traveled to where I needed to be, the main path, and just started running through the bosses. So it's like I'm kind of halfway in the middle. I understood where he was coming from. It's just a little bit of an extreme opinion. And if anything, I was actually watching the comment sections, and a lot of people were like, yo, it kind of turns me off and makes me not want to play Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm like, this is one of those things I'm like, yo, y'all got to reel that man in and watch what he says, because it could turn some people off. They're like, oh, because some people might perceive this as Dragon's Dogma 2 has no fast travel, and it's going to be a big open world with nothing to do in it, basically. So it's like, you got to be a little bit careful because it can turn people off. What you think, Jay?
Yeah, that statement might make people a little bit too critical about your game. And again, we talk about that vocal minority. If they end up catching wind that there's nothing in between, whatever points that you deem as checkpoints, then they're gonna crap on it. And TBH, you as soon as I saw the statement, the first thing that my brain went to was Elden Ring. I'm like, there's no way that in Elden Ring, as big as that freaking map was, that I know that Elden Ring it's a interesting example, just because you can literally do whatever you want. You can go wherever you want. It's like at that point, it's what you're ready to actually take on, because you'll see some enemy that may be too strong for what you have, but the fact is you could travel anywhere. It's so many different paths that you can go. So that's a slightly different example. But again, going back to just it being a super big world, and with that being said, even though you could go so many different paths, there's still a lot of backtracking that's involved, because you get a certain item and it's like, all right, well, now I can go back and beat this boss, or I have a different way to play. I have a different set of armor, I have a different weapon that I could try. So I couldn't imagine that game just not having fast travel. And my rule of thumb is, the bigger the map is, the more that I want fast travel. I'm sorry. And the only reason why I feel like it wouldn't be warranted, if fast travel wouldn't be warranted, is if I don't have to backtrack. If you require me to backtrack for a specific quest item, say I get a key and I have to backtrack, to a previous checkpoint in order to unlock a different path, then I 100% want fast travel. I'm not trying to go back and fight the same enemies, especially if you have respawning enemies. Oh my goodness. You brought up infinite wealth. Like if you're just running through that Hawaii, sometimes you're not trying to go through and fight these enemies.
I'm already over leveled,
Right. It's like I'm not trying to do that right now. I'm trying to get to the next objective, and and if I was required to get a specific item in order for me to go back and get something else, then hell yeah, 100% I want fast travel. So I feel like this was an L taken. Like I said, he better be careful because you can't just be calling the game boring to have fast travel. Again, and nobody in their right mind is going to call Elden Ring boring. I know that's for sure. So
that's true.
I think the issue with the statement is it comes across like he's like an artist that's out of touch with the consumer, because that statement doesn't respect the consumer's time. Another thing that he has to take into consideration is the average gamer statistically is 35 years old and older. People got kids, jobs. JG got 2 kids. Ethos is a game dev. You got to write for the Washington Post. My dog won't leave me alone. What's the name? People got lives, man. So it's like you have to respect the consumer's time. And to me, that comes across like a little like, yo, you're out of touch, dude. You got to relax. Let people be happy people watch your game. Like it's hard to make us. What you say earlier, games are expensive now. People are not spending as much. This is a competitive market. So just be happy somebody bought your game and hopefully they experience it the way you would like them to. But I think you should also appreciate that they also took the time to even experience it. What you think, Ethos?
Real quick, that's what I was talking about with artists being annoying though and dumb. Like they just mouth off like that all the time.
Emotional.
They get so emotional. Calm down, guys.
The hyperbole. Yeah. I see. I would say some shit like this too, but I would have definitely said something like this. But I think, I agree with what you're saying. It's not. I don't disagree with what he said. It's just how he said it.
Yeah. He needs a PR
I think
team.
that. Yeah, I think that anyone would definitely agree that if your game from the get-go is boring, if your world is so boring that I'd rather use the fast travel to skip over parts of the game just because I don't want to view it again, it's probably not. There's probably something there that's wrong. I felt that way about, I didn't feel that way, but I felt like a good example of that was when I played Cyberpunk. I was so immersed in the game that I had the option to fast travel, but I didn't want to. I actually drove most of the time, even though I could have easily fast traveled, because I felt so immersed, and I feel like that would have broke my immersion when I was playing the game. But vice versa, like there are games like Skyrim or like definitely Elden Ring. 100% agree with the Elden Ring take, where it's just like at a certain point you just want to be done with the game, or you've been going so far. Especially that's how I felt in Starfield, where it was just like, oh my, especially Starfield. There's so many loading screens. I was like, I do not want to go through getting on the ship, teleporting up into space, going to this, loading to another planet, taking that planet, loading again, going down to there. I was just like, I don't want to do this. So I just, quickly bring up the map and just teleport me there immediately. So yeah, I definitely think it depends on the type of game. Like if your game is trying to be immersive and just doing it right. Like Spider-Man is a great example. Spider-Man 2 had fast travel. That was like this. It was stupid fast. But a lot of people, because the mode of transfer of the way that you moved around the map was really fun, a lot of people just didn't use it. But I think towards the end of the game, I was like, all right, I just want to finish this game. Let me just fast travel to the final part with Venom and just be done with it. So yeah, it depends. I agree.
I still look forward to Dragon's Dogma 2 though.
The game looks like I love that.
I just wish it didn't release when it did, because I think Rise of Ronin comes out the same day and something else. I don't remember. It's smashed between 2 games that I wanted to play, and Rise of Ronin was definitely one of them. I was like, it might be a back burner game. I had to pick it up later.
Is it on Game Pass, or is it going to be on Game Pass?
Dragon's Dogma? I don't know. I haven't heard.
I don't think so. I don't think Capcom will let go of that.
Darn it.
Last but not least, I got one funny story for you before we wrap this one up. The developers, well, not the developers, but the CEOs, the founders of Fantastic, these were the creators of the biggest scam of 2023, The Day Before, they're back. Articles are surfacing that they're trying to rehire the people that worked on The Day Before, and they have a mobile game that's in the works. And I guess these 2 dudes that own this studio are doing some type of press tour, because recently they did an interview where they were talking about the reason that The Day Before it failed was because everybody had a hate boner for the game. And there was a bias, and then there was so much negative press on the game, it never stood a chance to succeed. What do you think about this, Gene?
I don't want to hear from them ever again.
I don't blame you.
Get them the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, you're done. You're done.
Oh my God.
You contributed nothing anyway. So why are you even worth listening to? You know,
That's real. That's real. What about you, Jay?
that's literally all I gotta say. You know.
I mean, yeah, at this point, like, y'all are fishing for clout because y'all are done out here. And I totally do not agree that that there was a hate campaign, before. There were legit people who were excited to see what this game was. But the problem was you weren't showing people what this game actually was. And then more bad stuff started coming. You weren't showing people actual gameplay. Then you had the naming issue that apparently you didn't get the trademark for. So like these are, that's again, crazy. red flag. So and then you finally figured it out, and then you finally show gameplay, and people are like, huh? It's okay. We finally got something, but what is this game really? It finally comes out. It's like, hooray, this game finally comes out. And then the Discord just shits on it. They're like, what the hell is this? You're stealing assets.
It was an extraction shooter. It wasn't even an MMO.
Yeah, it wasn't an extraction shooter. Like, so all of these promises of what this game actually was, it wasn't. It was your own fault at the end of the day. It was nobody else's fault. The red flags were already, it already should have got people not wanting to spend their money on this game. But again, there was a small subset of people that really, really wanted to see if this was real. They really, really wanted to try it out. They were really excited about the possibility of this game being real. But it didn't end up being that way. And ultimately, again, you could have circumvented all of that. You could have proved everybody wrong after all of these roadblocks in your way, this hate campaign, this smear campaign that you're claiming that it was. But the game comes out and it ends up being crap anyway, and then you shut down. So it's nobody's fault but yours at the end of the day. So let's just let it go. Take your L and move on. The problem is they don't want to take their L. They want to, again, just play blame on everybody else for their own failures.
You know what this is? This is equivalent to like that kid everybody knew growing up that would always get in trouble, and then when you would ask them why, they would be like, I don't know why I got in trouble. Like, really, bro? This is like me getting arrested, right? And then I get bailed out, and you ask me, why did I get arrested? I don't know. It turns out I do know. I was selling coke to Gene in Hawaii. And the police got me. Allegedly. Like, get the fuck out of here with this shit. You got any takes, Ethos?
I don't know why. I felt like from the get-go, it was pretty obvious that I was like, something not smelling, it wasn't passing the smell test. So I was kind of shocked that people were actually buying this game and then acting like pissed off that it ended up being a mess. This is what I feel like people thought Palworld was going to be.
People thought this was going to be Palworld.
This is what I feel like a lot of people felt was going to be a repeat with Palworld, but it didn't. And this just shows like the difference is like, no, people didn't give you a bad rep. I would say like what people are doing to Suicide Squad is not what happened to your game. I know there were people who were looking forward to your game and people that were interested in your game.
It was a lot of people were just like game last year. By the way,
it was very wish list. It was just people were like, "Yo, show us." Just show us what the game was, but it was constantly excuse after excuse, this problem, that problem, all this sort of stuff. I feel like if they had just been honest, be like, hey, we bit off more than we chewed way earlier in development. But of course, they don't want to do that because then that would hurt your sales. People would be like, oh, I'm not going to pre-order this or I'm not going to buy the game now. If you had been more honest about that, I feel like you would have softened the blow. If you had told people before the game launched, be like, hey, not gonna lie, there's a lot of issues with it, but if you rock with us a little bit, we're going to try to see what we can do about it. We're new to this. I feel like people would have been more forgiving to you. But when you try to like hide things and try to not tell people straight up like what the situation is, and then you pull the carpet underneath them, and then you disappear into the bunker like Todd Howard and Sean Murray, like this is what happens, bro. You get ostracized, and if you don't come back and prove that you still are trying to make the game good, gamers are very what's the word? They're very they have very good memories. I'm forgetting the word off the top of my head, but the gamers don't forget.
Very stubborn. Very stubborn memories. For sure.
Yeah, very stubborn memories, and they hold grudges. That's what I say. They hold a grudge. Yes. If I'm telling you, I've seen people on the internet. I've seen people, especially on Twitter, who literally will hold grudges against whole ass companies because of something they did 5-7 years ago. They liked and didn't matter.
What year was it where EA won most evil company of the year over. I think
over
BP.
Literally,
It was the year they had the oil spill in the ocean.
Dude, the oil spill.
Yeah,
was the worst company.
That's because I remember I was talking about the podcast. I was like, all right, y'all wilding. Like,
insane, man.
It's like, okay, I don't think the 2K the microtransactions are that bad.
Right?
Yeah,
they showed up to vote. I agree with that. That's freaking funny, man. That's all I got on my show notes. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to the show before we wrap this one up?
I know the Ethos briefly mentioned the Sony thing about them finally. It looks like they're finally about to embrace the PC gamers because we talked about this before. Yeah, we talked about this before. How Sony has wanted to do the 2 years in between before they release whatever their blockbuster game is or games are on Steam. And it looks like they're finally about to, even though they said that they're still going to put full focus on the PlayStation 5 brand. It looks like and there's no confirmation, but it looks like we might see those games quicker come to the PC, which is good. I mean, and I've said that this is what they should have done. I mean, literally look at the sales. God of War freaking sold. Spider-Man freaking sold. Horizon, it came out a little buggy, but people were still excited about it. But you can see again, like Detroit Become Human. That was a good one too. Like a lot of these gamers just don't have PlayStation. I mean, even The Last of Us. I mean, that's another story. But The Last of Us sold too. It was a buggy mess, but people were excited about it. Like you literally have PC gamers, and we mentioned this with the Switch. Who didn't get to play some of these games. But the same thing with PlayStation. DX, going back to DX, he said he doesn't own the PlayStation. And he was like, I'm excited to play. Yeah, he said I'm excited to play The Last of Us. I say, okay, like you're a specific subset of people that never got a chance to play The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. And now you get a chance to play it on PC. So that's fine. So yeah, I mean, like I said. Sony, do you not like money? Like, just go ahead and let the PC gamers play it too.
We just talked about these companies need money.
Yeah.
Forget
you all need some money right now.
Yeah, you need some money. Forget what your fanboys are saying. Let them cry in their Twitter spaces or whatever about whatever their favorite franchise is going to the PC. They cried about Uncharted going to the PC. They cried about every game going to the PC. So it's like, whatever, Sony, go ahead and do it because you have to catch up to Microsoft. Microsoft, they really hit the ground running finally with the Game Pass stuff, and your subscription model unfortunately is not replicating that. I don't think they're ever going to truly replicate what Microsoft is doing right now, but the one thing you can do, the one thing that is consistent are your diehard titles, your story driven games, and you put those on PC and people will buy them.
The man has spoken. Anybody want to add anything else to that?
I got some breaking news if you want to add it to.
Go for it. No, you spread it. Go ahead.
SEO, but Bloomberg is just reporting that Nintendo's new game console will launch this year with an 8-inch LCD screen, according to Omdia analyst Hiroshi Hayase. Now, keep in mind, Bloomberg is the same news. I got no beef with Bloomberg.
Hold on.
Journalist beef.
We got journalist beef. Yeah.
Bloomberg. I'm cool with Jason Schreier. We're buddies, and this isn't Jason's story, anyways. But keep in mind that Bloomberg was the same outlet that reported that we were going to get an OLED Switch Pro like 2 years ago, and we still haven't had that. So
we didn't get an OLED Switch.
No, Pro. OLED Switch Pro.
The Pro. Okay, I was like, I thought we had an OLED. I couldn't remember.
OLED Switch, but not the OLED.
But not the Pro
or whatever.
Yeah. I can't read the article. You got to pay to read on Bloomberg.
Yeah, you got to pay to read it.
I'm not doing that. What's the name? So does it say anything else beside the 8-inch screen then? Because I pulled it up. I can't read it. I'm
not paying for it either.
Oh, you don't even.
I love it.
TBH, ask the AI. Ask the AI to read.
Allegedly. We're gonna have
this
to
one
link
is
this.
weird though because you came out with the Switch OLED, so why would the next Switch be LCD and not also be an OLED? Why would you
switch to OLED?
Because they got to make another one so they make more money.
Nintendo, bro. Nintendo.
More money.
Why is the PS5 Pro not the PS5 Pro at launch? You know why.
That's why this is Nintendo that made the Nintendo DS, the Nintendo 3DS, the 3DS XL, the
Game Boy Micro,
and the new Nintendo 3DS XL. So yeah,
Lord.
All
right, well,
this is why Nintendo Switch has sold 133 million units, because they got a Switch and Switch OLED and the little mini switches.
Man. F all these
Nintendo's stubborn. You see what's going on there? I mean, literally, Steam was like, "All right, here's our OLED. Like, we're the competition now." Nintendo's like, we don't care. Like, we're still gonna, we still fighting freedom.
I need that because they don't direct. We need the Nintendo Direct. Just put it all out on it. Lay your cards out. It's coming out this fall. Can we get that? February. Come on. That's what I'm looking for. But I don't know. We'll see. This has been a fun show. That Palworld conversation was great. Gene, you are our guest. So to wrap this show up, what we do is we always give the show floor. What is your closing statement for Game and Illuminati episode 151? Go.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm not prepared for this one.
You can promote. You can do whatever you want, bro.
Okay, I'll just promote. Follow me, Washington Post / Gene Park. We're not subscribing to Bloomberg, but if you could subscribe to the Washington Post, it'd be great.
Yo, you said Bloomberg like it was a racial slur. Like,
we don't subscribe to Bloomberg, but
Bloomberg, those naysayers over there.
Naysayers.
Whatever. I feel like the media doesn't. Like you did your whole spiel, TBH. They'll follow us on Instagram. They help us out with the algorithm, blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? I feel like the media, the mainstream media, we don't do that at all because we feel like
it's expected.
Because we're so elite that we're too proud to ask you to subscribe to our Washington Post, right? Mm-hmm. So screw it. Please subscribe to the Washington Post. Support your way out here.
Hey, you gotta look at the times and look at what's working, bruh. It doesn't hurt to ask, man. That's why y'all still doing y'all thing.
And the Washington Post is not that it's cheap. You can buy it for cheaper than a Twitch subscription per month. So
there you go.
There you have it. Ethos, you got the floor. What's your closing statement for Game Illuminati episode 151? Go.
Thanks everybody for watching. Palworld's awesome. Nintendo, get your shit together. Was there anything else that's any crazy? Oh yeah, thanks everybody who's been checking out the Twitter. We've been doing the Lord's work on the Twitter lately. So yeah, it's been some good stuff we've been doing on the Twitter. So make sure you guys lock in with that. It'll be really fun.
Yeah, the Twitter's been growing. Shout out to y'all. And I put out a poll and everybody's like, yeah, we like it. So we trying to be consistent. Jay, closing statement for episode 151. Go.
Yeah, I'm fully prepared for 2024, another year of stale games and dead games. I literally have like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Tekken 8 coming out on the same night. So, that's going to be exciting to get to play those. So we'll see what happens the rest of 2024. But a huge shout out to Gene. Thank you for, first of all, responding to the post. You responded almost immediately and agreed to come on the show. So I think in 2024, especially for this podcast, it's heading in a new direction. I'm loving the guests that we've had so far, and I want to continue that. So again, a huge shout out to you, Gene, for coming through.
Yeah, I'm very remiss to not thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me. JG, I really appreciate it, and shout out to community. Whoever invited me out here. Been following TBH for a long time, and it's been great to be introduced to you, fine gentlemen. So I'm a new fan, and I'm a new member of the community. So let's go.
Awesome.
Salute.
It's funny.
Jay's so happy. I have a Yakuza buddy now.
Did you get to this part of the game? Like, I had said on
the next game.
I had said on stream the other day, I was like, 2024, we gotta start pushing back on some of these content creators that are tweeting out dumbass shit about gaming being dead and boring. I'm like, it's just not true. We're in a good space right now. There's a lot of great games. We're like, please try something new. Let it go. Because it was funny at first, but now it's getting old. Now, my actual closing statement for the show is, if you made it this far into the show, leave in the comment section, hashtag Hawaiian Coke if you made it this far into the show, because then you'll know what we're talking about. Hashtag Hawaiian Coke. Other than that, I appreciate everybody for checking out the Game Illuminati podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate it 5 stars, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.